You may be seated, Mr. Pistorius. You're still under oath, ma'am. You may be seated if you wish. Yes, Mr. Root.
Thank you, madam. Good morning. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
I'm going to deal with two aspects today only, so that you know where I'm going. The first one would be credibility, and the second one will be reliability. Now, I asked you yesterday a couple of times and still do not have your answer, but we have a copy of the record. If necessary, I'll make it available, and of course to the court. And that is that before you made your statement, you did not believe Oscar Pistorius' version that that he thought that Riva was an intruder. When he shot Riva, that he thought it was an intruder. What do you say about that?
Milady, as I said yesterday, I cannot understand when I heard the version how there wasn't mention made of a female that shouted. I clearly heard a female shout. So, as I stated yesterday, the person that can answer that will be Mr. Pistorius.
So what you say is that when you heard at the bail application that it was put there that Riva did not shout, you immediately realized, but this cannot be because I distinctly heard a woman shouting, and by inference it must have been Riva. Is my understanding correct?
Milady, I wondered where is the lady that was shouting. I heard that and I felt I had to say what I heard. Also, my colleague said to me I need to state what I heard.
Is my summary correct that I put to you?
Please, can you repeat your summary, sir?
Please, if you don't mind, madam, just listen carefully to the question. The question was not that difficult, and it follows from your first answer. And that is, because you heard at the bail application that it was put on behalf of Mr. Pistorius, that the woman was not screaming, which we know could only have been Riva, this woman. You realized this could not be because you distinctly heard the woman screaming, which could only have been Riva. Is that a fair summary?
Lady, I realized that that is not what I heard. I can only offer my version. So if someone heard something else, that's so. This is my version, what I heard. It does not correlate with my version.
Shall I repeat it again? Please listen carefully. What caused you to realize that it could not be, his version could not be correct, was the fact that you heard that at the bail application, and I'm following on your first answer, at the bail application you heard that it was put or it was stated on behalf of Mr. Pistorius that Riva did not scream, and you knew that could not be. You heard that.
The lady, at the bail application, what was said, that version does not coincide with what I heard. And I wanted to state my version to the court.
But your reaction came from what was put at the bail application that Riva did not scream. That's where it comes from, that reaction, that it could not be.
Milady, I can say that I heard a woman scream. It was not stated in the bail application. It's part of my version. The police then knocked on my door and asked me my version before I even gave through my testimony, and that's what I stated. That's
Can
what
I
heard.
go back to it again? You heard something that you called at the pre-trial or the bail application, that a statement was made. I'm just following on your first answer, man. That a statement was made on behalf of Mr. Pistorius that Riva did not scream. Is that correct? Did you hear that?
Milady, I heard in the bail application that it was stated that only one person screamed.
Yes. And that caused you to realize, but that cannot be, because you heard the woman screaming.
Milady, so I heard a woman screaming. I don't know. Maybe Mr. Pistorius can explain that what happened, why my version does not coincide with that version.
That caused you to think that it could not be, that statement could not be correct on behalf of Mr. Pistorius because you heard a woman screaming. Not so.
Milady, as I stated before, my version did not coincide with that version, so that's not my version. I heard what was said in the bail application, but my version, what I heard, is not that. So,
I'm going,
and also the distance, as I said yesterday.
I'm going to the 8th time the same question. Is it difficult?
My lady, I agree it's the 8th time, but my argument has been answered 8 times, and we should now move on. How else would we answer a question if it's put? Is that what caused you to give a version? Is it because you didn't believe the version? My version did not coincide. That's the word. My lady, then it's argument. Okay.
I don't think it's been answered.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
Thank you, my lady. Ma'am, I'm going to put it again. Maybe it's not clear. And I'm going to be really slow this time. You heard, and stop me when it's wrong, because I don't want to go through this pain again. You heard at the bail application, doesn't matter in what specific form, that it was put on behalf of Mr. Pistorius, or it was his version, or whatever, that Riva did not scream that evening. Is that correct?
Milady, because my version is different to what I heard them say, what I heard is different. I can't
Just
agree.
1 minute.
I can't
Let me
agree
just
with what they
explain.
said. I can't agree with his version.
Hold on. When counsel asks a question, you answer that question. Unless he asks for an explanation, you don't give an explanation. If the answer is yes, you say yes. If it's no, you say no. If you don't know, you say I don't know. If you don't remember, you say I don't remember. Otherwise, you will be in that witness box for another day and maybe tomorrow or the day thereafter. The quicker way to get out of that box is to answer exactly what counsel is asking.
Thank you, Milady.
Yes. Mr. Nell is here to see to it that if there's any confusion, he clears it up during re-examination. Okay. Yes.
I'm indebted to court. Thank you, my lady. Do you have the question? What is the answer? Is it yes, that's true, or no, it's not true?
No, I don't agree to that.
What don't you agree to?
To that there was only a man that shouted and that there were only
Question
shots.
is different. You heard at the bail application. I'm not asking if you agree now with it. You heard that it was Mr. Pistorius' case, put on his behalf, whatever, that Riva did not scream that evening. Is that right? Did you hear that?
No, those words were not what I heard, milady. I heard it was stated, we emphatically state that there was only one person that screamed that night, and that was Mr. Pistorius. That's what I heard.
That's right. So that means one thing. In your mind, it must have meant one thing, that it can only mean one thing, that Riva did not scream. If it was only him, it means that Riva did not scream.
That's correct, milady.
Thank you. And that caused you to realize, no more than this, I'm not talking about you being judgmental, just it cannot be because I've heard a woman screaming. Is that right?
That's correct, milady. That's what I heard.
And that's in that context that you realized it could not be. It's in that context what you heard from the bail application.
Well, I knew exactly what I heard when I woke up, and yes, then it did not coincide.
Yes, but it was in that context what you heard at the bail application that you realized it could not be. Well, we've gone through it. I don't know why you...
Yes,
Must be yes.
There's other facts, but yes.
Yes, what other facts?
That made me think about why I wanted to testify, to give my testimony.
Say again? I'm sorry, I beg your pardon?
I spoke yesterday about the 600 meters that I heard in the bail application, the distance also, and then we realized we're closer than 600 meters.
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with believing or not believing. That's just distance that you thought you can help. You agree?
Yes.
You see, why I'm asking you this, because yesterday in your examination in chief, when you said it could not be, I told my husband it cannot be, because that is not what I heard. You remember that?
Yes.
It had nothing to do with the bail application.
No. It went, that conversation we had yesterday was about the intruder, and I said it does not coincide with what I heard, because it was stated on the, my husband said it was on the media, he thought there was an intruder, and that's why he shot. And I stated to my lady yesterday that with those fearful, petrifying screams, it couldn't be you think there's an intruder, your life is endangered.
Why not? Why could it not have been right that he thought it was an intruder? Why did you decide then already? It's not true. It's not right. He could not have thought it was an intruder.
My lady, moments, as I stated yesterday, moments before the shots were fired, she had petrifying screams. I heard that female screaming fearfully, and she was very, very scared of something that was threatening her life moments before those shots went. And that made me know her life was threatened severely in the house. That's why she shouted. It could not coincide with thinking there's something outside.
But after the event and before that call to your husband, you thought it was a break-in. After hearing her screaming, him screaming, her screaming again and the shots, you still thought that it was either a robbery or a housebreaking.
Yes, my lady, that's correct, because you only shout like that if your life is really threatened. She was fearing for her life, so I didn't doubt that.
Yes, you thought before falling asleep again, that evening, after hearing all of this, that was a housebreaking or a robbery. That's what you thought.
Yes, my lady, due to the fearful shouts and the shots.
So what was new that caused you not to believe it the next morning?
In the media, the next day, they said Mr. Pistorius said he thought there was an intruder, and then he shot his girlfriend Riva and killed her because he thought it was an intruder.
But what?
But there wasn't an intruder in the house. No one spoke again about an intruder in the house.
No, but you didn't know at that time anything more than that one sentence. That your husband tells you that it was in the news that Mr. Pistorius thought there was an intruder in the house and that he shot his girlfriend. That's all you knew.
Yes.
So you didn't know that maybe what happened in that house, what did they think? Because both of them were yelling, both of them were screaming help. How did that match up with an intruder? What was there on those limited facts to say it could not be?
Lady, first with the first section of the question, I only heard terrible screams of the female. I heard both of them shouting for help. Please can you repeat the rest of the question?
Well, please tell me, why did you answer in that way that I can understand it? How did you see that as an answer?
You spoke about both of them screamed.
Yes.
And I heard only a female screaming and female calling for help and a male calling for help.
Yes.
I did not hear a man screaming. That I did not hear.
But that's my point. After this event, that early morning when you go back to bed, you only heard a woman screaming and a man and a woman screaming for help. That's what you heard, not so?
I heard
a woman screaming.
Lady, I'm really sorry to interrupt Mr. Roos' cross-examination, but I've just been informed that they're showing this witness's face on the TV as we speak. And there's been a court order that should not be allowed. And it's now happening, my lady, and I really do think we should stop that.
Who's responsible for this?
My lady, I've been shown on a cell phone by our media person there that they're showing that. Perhaps we should just take an adjournment so that we can investigate what's going on.
Yes, please do. Because I see this in a very serious light.
Yes.
Court will adjourn. Yes, Mr. Nel.
May it please the court, milady. Milady, we had an opportunity to discuss this issue with you in chambers. What I've indicated to you and showed you in chambers, milady, is a photograph of a TV set with a clear photograph of this witness with a caption, "On the stand, Michelle Berger, Pistorius' neighbor." Milady, and that is a photograph of a TV set, and the audio is running on the TV set with a photograph of the witness. Yes. In my respect for submission, lady, it's a violation of a clear court order. There's one aspect I may add, and that is that the news channel ENCA, of which that is a caption, made contact with your clerk this morning and asked them this exact question: are they allowed to put a photograph, which they found somewhere else, on the TV whilst the witness gives evidence? Lady, as far as I know, it was said no. They still went ahead and did it. My lady, I seek two orders. Firstly, that it's made clear by the court that that's a violation, that no photographs and or videos of a witness should be shown whilst the witness gives evidence. And secondly, my lady, that an investigation would follow to establish what further steps should be taken as far as this violation is concerned. As a court, please.
Thank you very much. Is there anything from...
Thank you, my lady. What Mr. Nel, my learned friend, has indeed submitted appears to be correct. When he speaks to an investigation that is to follow, that is, of course, the natural course of matters if there has been a transgression of a court order, and we have no difficulty in that regard. I echo his sentiments. However, we believe as the defense that we've reached a very important stage in the cross-examination of this particular witness, and we want to seek to continue with that without any further delay. No doubt your ladyship will make an appropriate order as requested by Mr. Nel. I have nothing further to add. Thank you, my lady.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I've heard both counsel. I must say this is very disturbing. I am warning the media, if you do not behave, you are not going to be treated with soft gloves by this court. For this reason, I want to give the order as sought by Mr. Nel. One, this order that I'm granting is to stop any photographs of any sorts. It doesn't matter where it was sourced from, regarding any witness, including this witness, who has asked this court not to have his or her photographs published. Secondly, an investigation is to follow to find out exactly what is happening, the extent, this may just be the tip of the iceberg, the extent of the non-compliance or the violation of the court order.
As a good business, my lady.
Yes. We shall proceed without any further delay.
Indeed.
Yes, Mr. Roux.
I'll take you back, ma'am, where I ask you, just to refresh your memory if it's necessary. I said to you, you did not know what happened in that house. I asked you about the two of them screaming for help and the woman, according to you, also screaming in addition to that. And I asked you then what was there on those limited facts to say that it could not be?
Sorry, my lady, can you please repeat what? I couldn't hear your second word.
Sorry, I asked then what was there on those limited facts that could cause you to say it could not be?
My lady, as I stated before, what my husband said was in the media. They said Mr. Oscar Pistorius accidentally shot his girlfriend because he thought there was an intruder and he was shooting the intruder. And what I heard that female screaming terribly. Her life was threatened in the house. I could not imagine her life not being threatened in the house, so it could not be for me.
But you did not know if there was an intruder in the house or not.
Milady, I wasn't there, so I never saw anything. I could only hear her shouts and her terrible screaming.
Yes, but even that morning you still did not know if there was an intruder in the house.
Milady,
That he mistook her for an intruder, for instance. You didn't have enough facts.
Milady, it's based on what I heard, and as I heard, I present to the court.
But however trouble in your following, there was not an intruder in the house. And I was surprised that you could say it at that stage because you did not know.
The media
So I need
stated...
you to answer, how can you say at that stage that there was not an intruder in the house on those limited facts?
Milady, as I stated what I stated before, the media stated Mr. Pistorius thought there was an intruder in the house, but the screams that I heard was the petrifying screams of someone that's life was threatened. Someone had to be in the house threatening her. It's not just the thought of thinking there might be an intruder.
Yes, I understand that, and that caused you to think it was a housebreaking or a robbery.
Yes, I thought so.
That even caused you to think when the husband was, or the man was screaming for help, it didn't tell you, well, that's not real, that's a bit fake. It caused you to think it was genuine, a man screaming for help. There's a housebreaking or a robbery.
Yes, my lady, everything I heard that evening contributed to my perception that it was a housebreak.
But then I still don't understand, with respect, in the answer just before the adjournment, in trying to justify your answer, you also added there was not an intruder in the house. And you conceded later on that you could not say that. So I'm trying to find out, why did you say there was not an intruder in the house with those limited information at the time?
Milady, but as I understand even now, the defence also says never spoke of an intruder in the house, that there was an intruder. There wasn't an intruder in the house.
My question is different. How could you say, you were standing there and saying it as part of your answer, and I quote, there was not an intruder in the house.
Milady, that's my perception, as I stated before. What I heard, those petrifying screams, there had to be someone threatening her life. That's why she was shouting like that. So in my mind, there was, the way I saw it that evening, there was someone standing there threatening that man and that woman because she was petrified. That's life-threatening screams that she gave. It was petrifying. In my mind, they were attacked in the house. And then I heard the gunshots. That was a logical deduction.
I understand that, but that's not the question. And I'm going to show to you now why I'm putting this question to you again. I tried to find out on what basis could you stand there today and to say with reference to that conversation, you say, there was not an intruder in the house. Listen, there was not an intruder in the house. It's one of the reasons that you gave to explain your answer. There was not an intruder in the house. And subsequently you confirmed that you cannot say whether or not there was an intruder. Not that morning, not when you spoke to your husband. Is that true?
Milady, I wasn't in the house. I never saw an intruder. And for the court, also no one says there was an intruder in the house. But what I heard at that stage, on that evening, the 14th of February, I thought there was an intruder due to the terrifying events I heard.
The question is different. When we dealt with the conversation you had with your husband, one of the answers given to you as a fact was, to justify your answer was, there was not an intruder in the house.
Yes, I was surprised. I was very surprised.
You couldn't say it at that time. You could not say it at that time that it was not an intruder. You didn't know. I'm not saying there was one. I say you did not know.
But that was my perception. I'm just giving to the court my perception that morning.
You know what it is, and why I'm getting back to this point. And I will refer to a number of instances in your evidence, and I will submit to the court, and I want to give you the opportunity to respond to it. What you do You have watched Sky News, you've watched other news channels, you've spoken to people that came out in your evidence, and you have a retrospective knowledge. And you take that knowledge and you come and give evidence today as if it's the knowledge of that fateful evening.
Milady, as I stated yesterday, I spoke to numerous people that morning before finding out of anything that it was Mr. Pistorius. I spoke to my colleagues at work. I even spoke today just to support me. I phoned her at the hospital to tell her about what I heard. So I did not change and alter what I heard. What I heard that day, what I said to the people that I spoke to, is what I'm telling the court today.
Now, I've made the point. I want to ask you something else. Would you bear with me? My understanding is that that fateful early morning, late evening, whatever, you did not know who was living in the house of Oscar Pistorius.
That's correct, milady.
You did not even know it was his house.
That's correct, milady.
Yet, yesterday, you said the following. When I asked you about screaming in the house, you said, I heard two people. So I definitely thought there's, and then you say, I knew there's a man and a woman living there. How did you know that?
Well, I knew there was a man and a woman in that house. The events went together. The shouting, the calling for help, the screaming, the gunshots. It was a unit. And it was coming from a house. And that's what I referred to.
Now, I asked you about your statement yesterday. Maybe the correct approach of mine should be, we have our own transcription. I think just in all fairness that we should make that available. If I refer to something specific that you can of course see it. It would be unfair not to do that. I just realized. And I'll give one to the state as well. It won't be a constant reference, but just that it's not blind when I'm referring to it.
There's no objection to that, Mr. Nell?
I don't have objection to that, milady. They only, it will help, but in the courts, the official stenographers would provide a court record that one can refer to.
Have they?
No, they haven't.
Yes.
Now we have an unofficial court record. I will receive it. We'll have an opportunity to check it against the official court record, milady.
Yes.
But if I receive it, I'll receive it with that proviso.
Thank you.
Of course, just to assist, my lady. I'm not saying that it's binding in anything. It's just to assist.
Yes.
Thank you. I asked you about your statement made to Captain van Aert. And I quote your words, and it's page 73. My statement, how I gave it there, is precisely how I heard it.
At what page are you, Mr.
Page 73, my lady. Man.
Yes. Yes, I do agree.
If necessary, I will refer you to that record, maybe if you listen to the questions. Do you still stand by that?
That the events that I heard are...
Precisely, my statement,
Yes.
how I gave it there, is precisely how I heard it.
That's what I heard.
Yes. It's precisely. You were quite precise. You were accurate in telling, in setting what happened, setting it out in your statement.
As I heard it, I stated to
Yes.
Captain, that's correct.
Well, it's not what you stated to him, it's what's in your statement.
Yes,
That's correct.
yes,
So what we know is he took it down correctly.
yes. Captain van Aert is very professional. He
Yes.
took it down like that.
Yes, he took it down correctly. It's precisely that. What you told him is precisely that.
Yes.
That's your statement. Now, yesterday, you gave evidence that you heard the shouting, not the first when you woke up, the second time.
After the call. Sorry, are you referring to the shouts, the terrible screams after the telephone call? Just before the shots?
Yes, well, I don't know just before the shots. I don't know anymore. Because what you told us yesterday is that I heard the shots, that's page 79, but just listen to the question, please. And during the shots, and there's many places, next I'll go to all the places, I heard the woman screaming. That cannot be for two reasons. But let's start again with this. That cannot be. Do you agree?
No, it is. I heard the woman shouting. The shots started and I did hear her voice. And as I stated yesterday, moments after the last shot was the last time I heard her voice.
I'm going to read it to you again. And it's at many places. Just accept that. I heard the shots, and during the shots, I heard the woman screaming.
Yes, that's correct.
I say to you for two reasons it cannot be. The first one is, that's not your statement that's precisely correct to Captain van Aert. In your statement you said, I heard the shots, the screaming, and then the shots.
Milady, I object. It is a rehashing of an objection we had yesterday. It's an exact rehashing of paragraph 6 of yesterday, when we excused this witness. Yesterday I objected, I object again. It is a matter of interpretation in Afrikaans. And I object. I did it yesterday, and I'm doing it again.
Yes, Mr. Roux.
No, it's that dealt with the screaming subsequent. That deals with the screaming subsequent. Now, coming to that, you have Exhibit M. Exhibit M, you don't need interpretation, my lady. It is quite clear, we dealt with what Mr. Nyan is referring to, is whether there was a subsequent screaming. That was the objection. The record is clear. Can I read it?
Yes, you referred to Exhibit M.
Paragraph 6, Exhibit M.
Yes, of course.
First give it as ek hoor die vrou gil en toe 4 shots. I heard the woman screaming, and yes, there was a debate, is one scream, more scream, it's not important. I heard the woman screaming and then 4 shots. And I will come back to her husband's statement as well. But that's clear. It's not during the shots. That's the only point I'm making. That's not open for interpretation.
So you're specifically referring to this sentence?
That's specifically referring to that. And did you hear that sentence?
Milady, may I reply?
Yes, yes, please.
Milady, with the utmost respect, that was my argument yesterday. One cannot read that one sentence in isolation. It's a full paragraph. One has to read the full paragraph. If you take one sentence in isolation, it doesn't make sense. But if you read the full paragraph, and that's what I did yesterday. Ek hoor die vrou gil en toe 4 skote. Then the shots are explained. Daar was 'n pose van ongeveer 2 sekondes vanaf die eerste skoot na die tweede skoot en toe die skote direk na mekaar gevolg. Die vrou het die laaste gil. Not You can't read in here that she shouted again. She screamed, shots. The last of the screams was after the shots. That's how I interpret it.
But that's not the question. The question is with regard to that first the second sentence in the paragraph.
Yes, my lady, but that second sentence should be read in terms of the whole paragraph. Nou, ek het die vrou hoor gil en toe 4 skote. There's nothing saying ek het die vrou hoor gil, die gil stop, the shots stopped, and then shots. It says, ek het die vrou hoor gil en toe 4 skote. And then, my lady, the last sentence read, die vrou het die laaste gil gegee, ongeveer 2 sekondes na die skote opgehou. It's not a counting, my lady. I say it's a continuation. At least that's an interpretation, it's my interpretation. And it cannot be said by Mr. Roux that that is exactly what she meant. I had the exact same argument yesterday, that one cannot take one sentence out of a paragraph. That's good.
Yes, Mr. Roux.
To Sister Court, I'll make it easy with the follow-up question, if I may.
Yes, yes.
Then, Madam, if I may, my lady. We have now a statement that's precisely correct. You've got a doctorate. The easiest thing, if you wanted to portray anything else, do you agree with this? To say to Captain van Aert, during the shots, I still heard screaming. That was easy to say in Afrikaans. Terwyl die skote geskiet word, hoor ek haar nog skreeu. That was easy to say. Do you admit that?
But I spoke about the screaming. I then explained the shots. He asked me about the shots. I explained the shots. And he asked me, when was the last time you heard her? And I said, just afterwards. It was screaming, shots. I still heard her. And the last one was moments after the last shot. And that's how it was taken down. My statement is only a few pages. I'm speaking here for many hours. I can explain very minute details to the court.
My question was different, and it's this. With Captain van Aert, it was really easy to say to him, Captain van Aert, let me add when you say, en toe die skote. Terwyl die skote geskiet is, during the shooting, I also heard the shots. Question is this, it was easy to tell him that. Just that. There was nothing that stopped you from telling him that. That's the question.
My lady, I could have said that to him, but it was implied with what I said to him anyway when we were doing the statement.
There's a second problem that I'm going to put to you that will come out in evidence later. And that is when you have 4 shots in a confined room. In some quick succession, even granting you a small lapse between the first and second, the sound of the shots would make it impossible for you at the distance of 177 meters to hear screaming at the same time.
My lady, is that put as a fact, or is that put as a witness that will come say that? Mr. Roux telling this witness as a fact that that is impossible?
Well, that is cross-examination.
My lady, he can
is
say
putting words into the mouth of the witness.
Me?
The witness, no, he's got a right to do that.
My lady, that is so.
Yes.
Without Mr. Understand cross-examination. But Mr. Roux cannot state, he can tell the court that he call a witness to say it's impossible to hear, or he can say, my client would say it's impossible to hear, or he could say, in my view, but he can't state it as a fact, because it's not a fact, my lady. It's not a fact that it's impossible to hear screams during 4 shots. It's not. So, but it's put that it is. That is my objection. But counsel cannot put that it's impossible. In his view.
What if she denies it? He can't say were you lying unless then the question will arise whether there's a witness to say that this witness is lying.
My lady, I understand what can happen further. My only objection, my lady, is to the fact that it's put as a fact to a witness, a lay witness, standing in the witness box. Counsel put to the witness, it is impossible. And it's not, my lady.
Well,
that is my problem.
I'm not persuaded, Mr. Nel.
As a court pleases, my lady.
Yes.
Thank you, madam. You've heard what I put to you. Any comment?
My lady, I heard shots and I heard her screams. As I stated yesterday, I can't say with which of the shots I heard her screams, but the shots started, I heard the screams, and shortly after, was the last that I heard her. It wasn't a minute afterwards, it was just after.
Just help us to understand that sequence. Because you've said now, the shot started, I heard the screams, and then I cannot say something. You cannot say what?
I said, as I stated yesterday, there were 4 shots. I cannot say with shot 1 and shot 3 I heard her shots. I can say, yes, I heard her screaming once the shot started. I still heard her screaming.
Well, you say
That's what I heard.
You say 2 things. 3 things, in fact. You say, I heard the shots, and then I heard the screams. Then you say, I heard the screaming when the shots started. And then you say, I heard the shots and still the screaming. Which one was it?
My lady, as I stated before, after I made the call and my husband went back to the balcony, I heard her petrifying screams. Then the shots started. While the shots were going, there were 4 shots. I heard her again, and the last time I heard the woman's voice was shortly after the last shot, which for me was the 4th shot. That's the last time.
Can I ask you this, ma'am, if I may? Trying to understand this. So, it seems, and I don't know, please correct me, it was a screaming that started, is it at the same time of the shots, shortly thereafter, or
Ma'am,
very shortly before?
My lady, as I stated, when the shot started, and I heard her voice again.
So,
I can't say it was with the number 1 and number 3.
Yes.
I can say the shot started, and I did hear her voice.
can I accept it then on your answer, because you repeat it, that the sequence, and I'm not taking you on what's in your statement on that, don't be concerned about it. It's this: you heard the shots, and then you heard the screaming, and whether that screaming was now between shot 1, 2, or 3, or just shortly after 4, you cannot say. Is that a correct reflection of what you said?
I just want to repeat that I'm sure we're
Yes.
communicating between each other. So you're saying the shot started,
Yes,
and I heard her screaming sometime during the shots,
yes.
and shortly after was the last time I heard that
Yes.
witness, the female's
Yes.
screams. Yes, that's how I have it.
Are you satisfied that that is your version?
That's my version.
Yes. So what we do know, the screaming was whatever time, nanosecond, split second, 1 second after the shot started, but you don't know in between which shot was it now, more intense, less intense.
Yes, my lady, I'd like to state to the court, we're dissecting this, it's taking a long time, but when it happens, there's 4 shots and there's screams. I wasn't sitting there with a notebook.
No, we understand this. We do
Yes.
understand it. Yes.
Madam, trust me, I also understand it. I'm just trying to find out, you've repeatedly said it now, and that's what you said yesterday, that the shot started, then the screaming, but what you cannot bind yourself to is when exactly was the screaming between which shots. That's all you say.
That's correct, sir.
But we know the starting point. The starting point was the shots, then the screams, and whenever they followed in that period.
Sorry, to which starting point are you referring?
Shots, screams, whenever in that period in between the 4 shots. I'm not binding you to it. And then you heard a last scream after the 4th shot.
The last scream was moments after the last shot.
Right.
And sorry, if we're speaking about from when the shot started, yes, that's correct. There was screaming before.
Yeah,
so,
but that was when your husband, when you woke up
yes,
and
correct.
your husband went to the balcony, that was before the telephone call.
yes. And
So-
also just after the telephone call, she screamed again before the shots.
How long before the shots?
It was moments before the shots, as I stated before.
Was it-
Shortly.
Moments.
Yeah. Once again, I didn't take the time, but
Yes.
it was short.
So it was moments, she screamed, and then shots, and then screaming again.
It was moments before she screamed. There were shots with screams, and it died down just moments after the last shot.
So the shouting, the screaming before the shot, that would have been a moment.
Moments.
Yeah.
1 or 2, 3 moments. I did not take the time.
But
I can't say.
It's very short.
It
It's
was
moments.
shortly before.
Yes. And what you're telling the court, what you could hear fear in that voice, you could hear emotion in that voice, accepting that those screaming predominantly coincided and was simultaneous with the firing of 4 gunshots. You had that ability from 177 meters to hear emotion and fear and increase in intensity in that moment, plus the gunshots.
The terrible emotion I heard, the petrifying screams, I heard that moments before the gunshots. That's how I could hear the emotion. I did hear it. It was petrifying.
But we know it was a moment.
Moments.
It was so short. In that moments, you can hear all those, the emotions, the intensity, the increased intensity, the just petrified, all in those moments.
Yes, ma'am. It's automatic. It's instinct. Instinct. You
Yes,
hear it.
177 meters away in your house, coming from another house.
Ma'am, our windows were open. We had no aircon and no roof fan, and there was no vertical building between our house at that stage and the other house. So, and we're in a very, very quiet area. We almost next to the Farm Inn, which is a nature reserve, small nature reserve. So it's very quiet. Sound travels.
You know what? On your version, what is an added difficulty, I will submit to the court. If you were right, and if you heard the shots and not the cricket bat, that I will come to when we deal with reliability, then we know what should be common cause between the defense and the state is that Reva was inside the toilet with a locked door, and we can show the photos with a closed window. Will you accept that?
If it's like that, I wasn't there. Visually, I couldn't see. I was just hearing, so I'm testifying on what I heard.
I must fast forward now on your version to test it. And that's what I say. What you are saying to the court must be seen in the context of the following. We know, there's no dispute, that when the shots were fired, Reva was in the toilet. We know the door was closed. We know it was locked. We know, we have the photos, that the toilet window was closed. So what you are saying to the court, 177 meters away, where you only had a moment before the shots, and then shots where the person is in a confined space, you could hear increased anxiety, fear, and motion in that moment, because the rest, moments later, we know there were gunshots. You heard that out of a closed toilet and a house 177 meters away.
Milady, that's correct. I heard that.
Ma'am, I will invite the state at the time later on, we don't want to waste time, to go and do a test. And I tell you now, it's a fact, in case there's some misunderstanding. You can scream as loud as you want in that toilet, and we'll put the door back for you. And 177 meters, you go and tell us that you can hear that screaming. But you do, that's the first challenge.
Milady, as I stated yesterday, there's been quite a bit of construction in the area. So what was last year open felt, there's now houses, various houses between us, which is blocking. So I don't know how we'll do that test.
And you can even stand closer. Don't do the test, please. Take the state, and we await the results. The second point is, but your evidence is going further. It was so distinct what you could hear from a person on your version in the toilet, that you could hear increased emotion, increased fear, and increased intensity. That's what you tell the court today.
Milady, definitely her shouts before the gunshots were more petrifying than the shouts that woke me up that evening.
then you can go so far, but I don't know if you can, let me ask you, to say that that person in those difficult circumstances, on your version in a locked toilet, closed window, moment, you could just hear the scream a moment before the shot, because then we know the shots. Can you say that was the same person that you heard when you wake up the screaming?
Yes, my lady, it was the same woman shouting and screaming.
You could hear from that distance, it's the same voice.
Yes, my lady, I could hear. It's the same woman shouting before and after. Wow.
Let me understand. You are 100% confident that you not think, that you could hear it's the same woman shouting.
Yes, my lady, I could hear the same woman shouting.
Yes, now let's test that. You wake up, you say, with a woman screaming. Not so?
That's correct.
Now we know there's some time lapse that it was not screaming on your version.
Well, my version is I woke up and I heard her screaming.
Yes, but we know on your version then there was some time lapse where there was no screaming.
I referred to a time where I made a call, so I wasn't focusing on screaming.
Well, we have your precisely
yes,
correct statement.
Also, when the gentleman called for help, I didn't hear her screaming. I heard him shouting help. So that's correct.
Well, more than that. Far more than that. We have your precise statement, and you're welcome to read it again. One thing we do know, there's no mention about screaming when you had this conversation with your husband and taking your telephone and giving them, and him phoning the wrong security, and him telling you that it's the wrong security. In that time, did you hear screaming?
My lady, I was focusing on the call and what my husband was saying. I wasn't listening to anything else. I was focused, as I am today, focused on here. I was focused on my husband and the call.
So what is
I did not hear the woman then. I was focusing on the call.
The last part, I couldn't hear what you said.
I was not focusing on the screaming, so I don't know if there was screaming. I can just say I was focusing on the call and trying to get hold of security.
So what you say to me, is it because it's so far away that the moment you focused on the telephone, you did not hear the screaming?
No, my lady, it's not because of the distance. Her screaming was very clear that evening. I heard her, as I stated when I heard her.
Let me repeat again. When you focused on your telephone, you did not hear her screaming.
I did not focus on her screaming, so I cannot state whether she was screaming or not.
Did you hear the screaming?
I was not focusing on it, so I could not hear it.
My question difficult.
No, I did not hear it because I was busy calling.
Yes, but that's the point that I'm making, what you're saying to the school. When you focused on the telephone, you did not hear the screaming.
Correct.
Is that unfair?
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Why is it necessary that I have to put the same question 4 times?
I just want to make certain there's clarity, sir.
Yes. Ma'am, but tell me about, and please share full facts with the court, about how it came about. Captain van Aert is now there for the purpose of taking statements from you and from your husband. Share with the court that process, please.
My lady, my Captain van Aert arrived, and then I had to leave the area. So he was speaking to my husband and doing the testimony, the statement. And then later on I was called down. My husband left. He had a business event to go to, and it was only Captain van Aert and myself at home. And I then gave my statement to him. We first discussed it. I told him what I heard, and then he took down my statement.
I really apologize. You just dropped your voice and I could not hear the first part. So only for that reason.
Yeah.
Did you say that your husband gave his statement and he left?
He had to go.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, my husband was at home first. He got home before me. Him and Captain van Aert were busy. I was not allowed to be there because I was not allowed to hear what they were discussing. So I had to go to another area. And then when he was finished, he had a business meeting to attend to. So he left. and I went to Kaptein van Aert, and then it was my turn. I discussed the events with Kaptein van Aert, and he did the statement.
So that day, the two of you did not, your husband and you could not discuss your statement. What you're going to say in the statement?
No, my version is my version. If my husband, whatever he has to say, is he has to say. We didn't go and try and discuss and manipulate anything. No.
I understand. No. And you say that when you arrived at your house, your husband was already busy giving his statement and you did not interfere.
No.
You excused yourself.
No, sorry, sir. As I said, when I arrived, my husband was already there and Kaptein van Aert, and then they did their bit. I wasn't present, if I can use other words now. I wasn't present. I had to be separate so that I could not interfere with them. And then later, my husband, when he was done, he went to a business responsibility, and it was my turn with Kaptein van Aert.
And when you sat with Captain van Aert, did you not use your husband's statement perhaps to refresh your memory or to, as a sample, how to give your statement?
No, sir, I did not see his statement then.
You have not seen it. It was not there. You didn't see it.
I did not see his statement.
He also didn't use it. You didn't use it.
No, he didn't.
And you were quite willing to give him a full statement.
Yes, sir. I said exactly as I stated to the court, as I heard the events.
And you trusted him?
I do trust Kaptein van Aert.
And I mean, I'm not too sure if I ask you your cell phone number, whether you would give it to me. But if he asks you your cell phone number, would you give it to him?
Yes, I trust Kaptein van Aert.
Did you know your cell number at that time?
My cell number?
Yes, cell phone number.
Yes, I know my cell phone number.
And if he asks you for your cell phone number, would you give it to him? At the time of the statement, for instance?
I would give my number to him.
There could be no reason for not doing that.
Yeah.
Well, let me just excuse me. So you now can you remember where it was that you sat with Captain van Aert?
We sat at the dining room table because that's the only place we could sit.
And you said already your husband's statement was not there.
Well, I said I didn't see it. I didn't read it. I didn't see it. I don't know. Captain van Aert took the statement. I don't know where he had it. He had it somewhere. Obviously, because he didn't leave the room. He had it.
Did you see it on the table? That you can read it?
I didn't read the statement.
Did you see it?
Well, I didn't look for the statement, so if it was there, it might have been lying there with papers, but I did not look for the statement.
Was he referring you to his statement?
No, he didn't.
To help you, to say, let me help you?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't referring to that. He asked me for my version. What did I hear?
And you gave them your independent version?
Yes, as I
independent from your husband?
Correct.
Lady, there would be a bit of administration following, and I would rather... Can we take the short adjournment now?
How long? How short?
I see it's nearly tea time, my lady.
Oh.
It's then just to... I want to make certain documents available.
Yes. Thank you. Court will adjourn. Before we start, I've been requested to make an order that our official transcribers make available the running record on a daily basis, and I so order.
As completed.
You still under oath?
Yes.
Thank you.
Madam, thank you, madam. I'm sorry. Madam, you still have a copy of your statement in front of you, Exhibit M.
So I've got the transcriptions over here.
I'm talking about your statement.
I haven't
it's
got
coming
the
back to
statement.
you. Just bear with me.
If you...
I've read through your statement.
Yes, I've read through my statement.
And I do not find in your statement the place where you condemn this version as not, that it cannot be.
Milady, I just want to make certain, are you referring to what I said to my husband that morning when he called? No, all the details not in this statement, so...
Yes. It drives me to draw an inference that subsequent to your statement until the time that you come to give evidence with all the, including negative media coverage of Mr. Pistorius, that you come to court and you wanted to make it quite clear that from your perspective his version could not be, meaning could not be true.
Milady, I didn't alter my what I heard. The media did not alter what I heard. No.
Now, I'm going to hand to you and to the court and the learned assessors a copy of your husband's statement, not to prove the truth of your husband's statement, but to show to the court, or to demonstrate to the court, the remarkable similarity. And why I'm going to submit that it cannot be that you independently gave your version, because a mere comparison of the two statements would clearly show that it's just too similar. That's the process that I'm going to follow. I have underlined the similarities, and 3/4 of the statement is underlined, but it's no need to underline. I'm going to take you paragraph by paragraph where you keep that statement, your statement next to you, and then your husband's statement, with Mark, hand up as Exhibit N, my lady, for Nelly. And then to ask you questions about this independency.
You said it's Exhibit N.
Exhibit N, thank you, my lady.
Thank you.
Now, if you look at your husband's statement, it starts with, in paragraph 1, ek is 'n volwasse man, I'm an adult male, ID number, residing there and there, cell number so. Let's stop there. Let's go to yours. It's like a template, just I'm an adult female, ID number so-and-so, residing so-and-so, and a telephone number. Which telephone number appears on your statement that was deleted?
My cell phone number, and there's one that was taken out, which was my husband's
Yes.
cell phone.
If you go to your husband's statement, you see the cell phone number 083 258 9288.
Lady, I can absolutely explain this.
Yes.
I'm not in the force. I'm not a professional at taking down testimonies. So this is the way the police starts it. The ID number, whatever, where you live. So Captain van Aert wrote down he asked me, are you a woman? What's your ID number? You live here, and the cell phone. He wrote that down. Because that's the way the police does it.
He wrote your husband's cell phone number down.
Yes, he had both our numbers. He had available.
The only way he could write to you, one of the more understandable ways, he could write it down, because he had that statement right there. That's what I'm going to show to the court, paragraph by paragraph. It's as if the one was predominantly used as a template for the other one. Even the cell phone number.
My lady, I spoke and I explained everything to Captain van Aert as it happened, and that took a long time. And then when we wrote the testimony, he took it down and he said, "Is this what you're saying?" I said, "Exactly as I explained it." And he wrote it down, and I read through it, and I said I agree to that, and I signed it.
Yeah, the fact is, even in that first paragraph, there was first your husband's cell number, which appears in his statement, was in your statement and then deleted and substituted with yours.
Yes, so that first paragraph, Captain van Aert did not actually, I did not say exactly I am a volwassen vrou, because that's the way the police starts it. So he says, are you a woman? He writes it down. I had to state that this is my ID number. He wrote it down. And he had a way of writing woonagtig. I'm not a professional at taking down this. So the police have a way, they want your ID number and where you live.
That's not the point. We go paragraph by paragraph to show you the striking similarity. The second paragraph, his statement. On the 13th of February 2013 at about 21 hours, my husband and I went to sleep. His, yours. On 13 February 2013, my husband and I went to sleep at about 21 to 22 hours.
Yes, Melanie,
only on a time,
there is a difference.
Only a time.
There is a difference, yes, the time difference.
Yes, let's go on. My slaapkamer is op die eerste vloer van die huis. My bedroom is at the first story of the house. His statement. Die slaapkamer is op die eerste vloer aan die kant van die Silverwood landgoed. Then yours. My bed is bykans teen die venster wat oop was, meaning the window was open. That's the next crucial point.
Yeah.
Yours, the window was open. The next crucial
Yes, sir, we were in the same bedroom.
Yes.
The same bed, same window.
Yes, I'm not talking about whether you were in the same or different bedrooms.
But those are the facts, sir.
It follows that you remember in the same paragraph as his to say the same things, to say, this is when I go to bed, this is where my house was, this is where my bedroom was, and my window was open. The same paragraph as in the paragraph.
Yes, my lady, that's as Captain van Aert asked us.
Yes.
What did you do that evening? What time
Yes.
did you go to bed? It's the same facts.
Let's go to the third paragraph. Gedurende die nag het ek wakker geword. That's how it starts. You can read. How does yours start?
It's the same. I say a vrou wat gil, and he speaks about
Yes.
persoon se gille.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just read the first sentence.
There's similar words, but some
Yes.
of the facts.
Let's just start. It's a template and change slightly. Gedurende die nag het ek wakker geword. That's paragraph 3. Look at his paragraph, your paragraph 3. Gedurende die nag het ek wakker geword. It's exactly the same, and then a slight deviation, but the same message.
Milady, I do see that some of the facts do differ. But yes, we heard the same stuff. The facts do differ.
Ek het vinnig uit die bed geklim, he says. Your husband. My man wat ek wakker geword het, uit die bed gespring. Same
Lady, that's what he did.
template, yes,
Yeah.
yes, same template. En na die balkon gehardloop. And him, you saying, en na die balkon toe gehardloop. Running to the balcony.
As Milady, and just after that, there's some differences I do see.
Yes, of course, madam, there are some differences.
Yes.
But you don't need absolute extra qualifications to see the striking similarity. And I'm going, of course, there's some small differences. But every paragraph, it's as if, and that's what I'm putting to you and I'm asking you, as if his statement was lying next to the captain, and he takes that paragraph and he says, all right, there's your husband's paragraph, now let's look at yours. And if you take it, that's the point I'm making, you can take your time. I don't want to bore the court. The statement is there. Paragraph by paragraph, the similarities are striking.
Milady, yes. It was the same sequence, more or less. We were in the same house. We went to bed at the same time. We woke up more or less the same time.
How?
There are some facts that are different, and so some facts will be the same, but some will differ.
How is it possible to have striking similarities paragraph by paragraph if his statement was not used as a template? How is that possible?
Milady, Captain van Aert asked us about the sequence of events. So he would ask me, what time did you go to bed? So I say, I went to bed 9 o'clock, between 9 and 10. My husband, I don't know what he did. I wasn't with my husband, but he asked me the sequence of events. I answered them, and he took them down. So I answered on the questions asked. So the sequence was the same as my husband's sequence. We heard the same, more or less, the same thing.
Yes, it's just all I'm saying. I'm not taking it any further than that. It is remarkable and it is striking. And I'm not going to deal with every paragraph because it's there for the court to see. If you go paragraph by paragraph, but for some differences that I understand, it is as if And it leaves in my mind the only probable inference that his statement was the template, and that was then used, and then your statement was then taken from you.
My lady, that's not how it happened. Captain van Aert has got integrity.
You know, even talking about the call. The call was at 3:16, and the duration 58 seconds. Yours, the call was 3:16, duration 15.
My lady, it was asked
What
to me.
paragraph is that?
That was paragraph 8 and the one in paragraph 9. It was 9 in exhibit N, my lady, and it's paragraph 8 in the witness's statement.
My lady, it was asked about the call. It was the same call. There was only one call. It was 16 minutes past 3, and the duration was 58 seconds. So the information is similar because it was the same call for me and for my husband.
Yes. Let's look at the paragraph that I debated with you in paragraph 6, your statement, paragraph 6, where you were giving some interpretations in the court. He starts off differently. He says that he didn't try to phone anyone again.
Excuse me, sorry, what paragraph for?
I'm sorry, ma'am, his
Mr.
paragraph 6.
Yes, exhibit
And for
N.
me?
His paragraph is exhibit N and also your paragraph 6. It's a different sentence introduction. He says that after he says he went to the balcony, after the first sentence, he says he went to the balcony, paragraph 6, and you say, my man is weer uit na die balkon, he went to the balcony. After the first sentence.
Yes, my lady, that's true, but it must be seen in context with all the rest of the paragraph.
Yeah, let's
that
go on.
differs.
Let's take your paragraph 6. The second sentence. Your husband. Ek het die vrou gehoor gil. I heard the woman screaming. Your sentence. Ek hoor die vrou gil. I heard the woman scream. En toe 4 skote. Your husband. En toe 'n sarsie skote hoor. That and two. Ek het nie getel nie. I understand there's a difference. He thought it was 5 to 6. You were 4. Then we go on. His statement. Die laaste gil, if you go down. Die laaste gil, the last scream or the yelling, was just after the last shot. Plus minus 1 to 2 seconds. In Afrikaans, die laaste gil was net na die laaste skoot. Plus minus 1 tot 2 sekondes. In jou statement. Die vrou die laaste gil gegee, ongeveer 2 sekondes na die skoot opgehou het. You see what I mean? I can take you to all the other paragraphs as well. It's striking.
Milady, that's what I heard, and I'm glad to hear my husband heard exactly the same.
I'm afraid that is not too honest. You know what he's saying. It's not glad to hear. It's not new. You know that.
So I did not read this statement.
Yes, of course not. Of course not.
My lady, I object to that remark that Mr. Root just made. It's sarcastic and it shouldn't be made. And he should
I agree.
apologize
I
to the
withdraw
witness.
that. I apologize.
agree.
My lady, it's absolutely right.
Yes.
I agree. I apologize. Let's now look at reliability, dealt with credibility. Do you know, and I've dealt with this yesterday, but I will be more detailed, what it sounds like when an English willow wood, that's a cricket bat, that's what it's made of, makes hard contact against a Meranti door. That was the door, the wooden door that they Meranti door. Do you know what it sounds like?
Milady, I've never heard that, no.
So, am I not correct that you cannot say if you're a distance of 177 meters away and you're inside your house and there's something happening in a house 177 meters away, that a cricket bat, when someone hits a cricket bat, that it would not resemble gunshot wounds. That sound would not resemble.
Milady, I've heard gunshots before.
I know.
What
You
I
say
heard
that.
was gunshots.
I know you say you heard gunshot wounds, and I've dealt with your experience going to a shooting range once when you were young and so on. That I know. I'm saying something completely different. Can you say that when you hit the cricket bat that type of cricket bat hard against a Maranti door, that sound would not resemble a sound sounding like a gunshot.
Milady, I can't think it will sound the same, but only an expert in sound will be able to verify that. But I don't think so.
But you don't know.
I doubt it.
But you don't know. Oh, you will not make that concession.
I really can't see that a bat and a gunshot sounds the same.
Why? What is your expertise?
A gunshot is extremely loud.
And how's a bat? Is that not extremely loud when you hit the door? If you don't know it, is it not extremely loud?
Well, I'm sure it's loud, but I think if I have to hit a bat against the door and I have to pull a trigger here in the court, the gunshot will be louder than the cricket bat.
177 meters away. Do you know what it sounds like?
I know what a gunshot sounds like 177 meters away.
That's what you believe. Do you know what it sounds like when you hit a bat hard against a Maranti door? Do you know what it sounds like?
No, milady, I've never hit a bat against a Maranti door.
Do you know what it sounds like when the accused, Mr. Oscar Pistorius, is anxious and he screams? Do you know if it sounds like a woman or not?
Milady, I never heard him screaming. I only heard him calling for help. I only heard a man calling for help, that's all.
Do you know what it sounds like, or if you never heard him screaming?
I've heard Mr. Pistorius, if he's the person in that house with the gunshots, I've heard him call for help. I've never heard him screaming.
Maybe you did, that you didn't realize it was him.
Milady, that was definitely a female I heard screaming.
Of course, I understand what you're saying. Now, the next one. You denied yesterday that what could have woken you were the gunshots. You said when you woke up, you heard the sounds of a woman screaming. You remember?
That's correct. That's what I heard.
The reason why you say there could not have been gunshots that actually woke you up, because you wouldn't know you were sleeping, was because according to you, only 4 shots were fired and that you heard. That's your reason.
Yes, I heard 4 shots.
Yes. That's your reason giving. Because we know you slept. The reason why you say that is not that woke me up, because I know as I stand here that his version is that he fired 4 shots and I heard 4 shots. Therefore, it could not have woken me.
Milady, I know gunshots, I heard them after the call. Yes, I did not hear other gunshots. I only heard 4 gunshots.
We've gone through the cricket bat and that you don't know the sound that it would make. But that, I'm just getting the reason why you're saying it. You're satisfied with that?
Yes, I only heard 4 gunshots.
I want to put to you some parts of his version. And please just try to stand back and listen to it objectively. And I know you have your ideas. You made that quite clear. But just listen to it. Because it reminds me, when we study about reliability, how this eminent English barrister identified persons who robbed him and he was absolutely confident. And it was shown in court it was not them. That's what they teach us when it comes to reliability, that we must be careful. So what I'm asking you, just stand back for a moment. His version is, after the shooting, and when it dawned upon him that it might have been Reba, he opened his bedroom sliding doors. He did other things as well, but I'm dealing with vis-a-vis your evidence, and shouted for help, amongst other things. And we say that's the help that you heard. That is the help that you heard. Any comment?
Milady, I'm wondering how that would be possible, because just before he shouted for help, The female shouted for help.
Yes, that's your interpretation because
It was distinctly two different voices. I could hear it very clearly.
I understand you're not a voice expert and you cannot say that. But what I understand is in your mind, it's a woman's voice to one, it's different to the man's. I understand that. I'm talking about him shouting. He was anxious. And what we say to you, but that's not what I'm dealing with now. That other voice was also him, where it pitched. But I'm dealing with a different point. He shouted help to the outside. All we know in your version, you did hear a man shouting help. Not so?
I did hear, yes.
We also know one thing. In terms of your version, it would make no sense when a man is about to kill and then killed his girlfriend for him to shout help. It would not fit into that scenario. Not so.
Milady, I think the reasons and the feelings should be asked to Mr. Pistorius if he takes the stand.
I'm not asking about the feelings and the reasons. I put to you a very fair question. And if you don't want to answer it, we'll draw our inferences. And I'll submit it to the court.
Please, can you ask the question again?
The court would just bear with me. I just received a note now. Just a second. I apologize for that, Melanie. I just received a note and distracted.
No, that's fine.
Just an objective fact. If there's a man about to kill his girlfriend with a firearm, she runs away to seek safety in the toilet and he shot her. One thing that's inconsistent with that is a man in that same house during that time period shouting for help to the extent that you also reconcile that shouting with people being attacked in a house. It's inconsistent, that's all I'm saying.
It was part of the sequence of events.
Yeah, I'm asking you something else. I'm not asking part of the sequence. If you have a difficulty to make any concession, that's fine. I'll argue to the court.
So what are you
asking? It's
asking?
Inconsistent to those facts sketched to you.
Milady, I can only think that Mr. Pistorius must answer why he called for help. I was not there.
Madam.
I can just say why.
Madam,
what I heard.
You know,
I don't know. She shouted for help. He shouted for help. I don't know why he did that.
all that I get from your answer, and I put it to you because I'm going to argue to the court. Sometimes when it's an obvious concession, you will still not make that, insofar as in your mind you think that may assist the accused, you will still not make even an obvious concession. That's your evidence. Because to me it's obvious. But you will not do it because it might be good for him. That's you as a witness. That's what I put to you. Do you want to comment on that?
Lady, I'm as honest as I can be to the court. I'm just saying what I heard. And I'm giving my story as clearly as I can.
Shall I ask you a last time and then move on and see if you're willing to consider that?
No.
On a version that a man has a gun, he wants to kill his girlfriend, he wants to shoot her. She runs away from him, she hides in the toilet and he shot her through the toilet door. One part of your evidence is inconsistent of your observations, what you heard. And that is a man shouting for help in that series of events to the extent that also that shouting caused you to think they were attacked and there was a house break.
The lady afterwards, after I heard what happened, the only thing I can now sit and ask is, was it a mockery? I don't know.
Yes.
I'm not Mr. Pistorius, I do not know. I cannot answer on behalf of him.
You've
I
answered.
don't know.
I'm very happy with your answer because that's what I'm going to argue. You will even call it a mockery other than to make an obvious concession. That's what I put here. You will even go so far, ma'am, to call it a mockery with no facts, just not to make a single concession that can help that man. That's your evidence.
This witness is now badgered and saying, you called it a mockery. She was asked for an opinion. She gave an opinion. If the counsel doesn't like the opinion, he should carry on, madam. Madam, I apologize sincerely. Milady, I apologize.
Yeah, that's fine.
He should carry on, milady.
That's fine.
But that question has now been answered.
Yes.
We should move on.
Yes, Mr. Roux, I really think you have exhausted this.
I will. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
I've made a point. Thank you, madam. Taking you again back to the events, the parts that I'm going to deal with you. I'm going to invite your comment. You can make concessions or you can not do it. You're welcome. I dealt with him opening the sliding door and screaming for help. And you heard a man screaming for help. Then what I say to you, on his version, there came the stage where this man, Mr. Pistorius, is in that bathroom with his cricket bat. It's his version. Realizing now the horrible events, realizing there's a problem with Reba in that toilet. It's now fetched his bat to break open that door. That was a stage of heightened anxiety. It was the pinnacle, it culminated. And he was screaming. And what's important is this. He was standing in his bathroom where the bathroom window facing in the direction of your house was open. And he was screaming. He was absolutely anxious. What I put to you is when you heard that anxious screaming, why the sound would travel, it was because it was not in a locked toilet, not in a toilet with a closed window and a closed door, but it was in a bathroom with an open window facing in your direction. And it was him screaming. Absolutely anxious. I take it, and you can answer that. Your answer is you heard a woman.
Milady, but shortly after the shouts died out, so...
I'm coming to that point. Is that your only answer to that?
That's how I heard it. I heard the gunshots, and then slightly after that is the last time I heard the female.
What I want to say to you, to get to your version, and we have consulted with medical experts, but I didn't have to, because we have the ballistic expert of the state when he spoke about, and when he will speak about, but when he spoke about his statement about the shots. We know it was 4 shots. And 2 things that I put to you. The total impact of that shot would not have allowed her to scream. I want to add one thing extra. In fact, the state witness tells us, Mr. Mangena, with the headshot, she would have dropped down immediately. And I will go on with the responses thereafter. That's what I put to you.
My lady, if Mr. Chris Mangena is quoted as saying, with the headshot she would have dropped down, can we just see that? Could that be shown in Chris Mangena's statement?
I would have hoped that the state had read his statements, but I'll show you.
No, it's only too fair that it's done, even for the court's benefit.
Yes, of course, my lady.
Yes.
For the court's benefit, I would do that.
Yes.
It is, I will read it, my lady. It is page 52, A74, paragraph 18.1.4. I read, when the other bullet hit and penetrates the left middle finger, her hand was most probably covering her head. The same bullet penetrated her head and fragmented on impact. Some fragments of this bullet were recovered during post-mortem in the head, and the other fragments exited and hit the wall at mark G. After this wound was inflicted, the deceased dropped immediately towards her right side with her head on top of the toilet seat.
My lady, I think... Excuse, mag ek
Yes,
antwoord?
before you answer that, Mr. Nel.
That should be read. One should start earlier. One have now taken one paragraph. One should start earlier. And that's been my issue with cross-examination from the start. Let's start earlier. I know that's in there, but earlier it says, the first bullet hit the deceased in the right thigh. So the second bullet hit the wall, mark F. It missed. The third bullet hit the deceased as she was still seated position on the magazine stand, and that was the bullet, the one in the shoulder. The fourth bullet hit her in the head. She then died. That's it. If that is good, then I don't have a problem. But it should be as it was said.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Roux.
I have three answers, my lady. The one is, it is there what I put. The second one is, we will debate the sequence of the bullets. That's not important now. And I've also put as part of the sentence that I consulted medical specialists, and the state has as post-mortem, that there was serious brain damage. And our evidence will be that a person with that brain damage will have no response, no cognitive function, no thought process. That's all coming in. That's what I put to this witness. And that will be coupled to the evidence of the accused, what he found, and whether there was any response, and all the events. So all I put to this witness, when you talk about the screaming, whatever interpretation after the last bullet, it cannot be on our case, on the expert witnesses. It cannot be. She could not have screamed.
My lady, as I stated yesterday, I heard her voice just after the last shot. It faded away. As I also stated yesterday, it could have been with the last shot. With the last shot, she shouted. The shot goes, she's shouting the same time. Her voice carries. It was just afterwards was the last time I heard her.
Yes. All I put to you there is this. Both you and your husband talk about 1, or you said 2, and 1 to 2 seconds after the last shot. That's quite some time. The last scream, 1 to 2 seconds after the last shot. And all I do, you can disagree. All I say to you that we will present evidence that A, there was no such scream, and B, there could not have been such scream.
My lady, I stated in my statement, ongeveer, approximately 2 seconds. So it could have been a half second, 1 second, 2 seconds. As I stated before, I wasn't there with the stopwatch.
Yes. What I also put to you, that on the reliability, on your version, with reference to what you termed as the increase in trepidation, in anxiety, on your version, all you had was a moment before the shots to hear it, then shots that would mask, on the very least on your version, the emotions and the sound of the screaming. And on your version, it happened when Riva was inside a toilet with a closed toilet door and a closed window. That's what I say. What do you say to that?
Lady, as I stated before, the emotions that I heard that were very intense, the climax of the emotions were just before the shots.
That's all I say. We know it was moments. You described it as very short moments. You were able, I just try to understand what you're saying to the court. You were able, 177 meters away, on your version, to interpret three things, because I've looked them up. The one is emotion in her voice, increased intensity, fear to the extent that you could hear she was really threatened. All in that moment, on your version, before the shots, that moment, when she was, we know, on your version, in a locked toilet with a closed window. That's your version.
Yes, my lady, moments, as I said, moments before the shots, I heard her terrible screams. I could hear the emotion. And it's very quiet. Also, as I stated, in our area, I hear the jackals at night. Sound travels. That's my version.
Yes. What you did not hear a man crying out, in addition to screaming.
I only heard a man calling for help. That's
So
all.
remember when I read you the other statements, you
Yeah.
did not hear a man crying out loudly.
My lady, that's correct. I did not hear a
You
man.
did not hear screaming when you focused on the cell phone.
No, I was focusing to phone there. Yeah.
You did not hear screaming when you
Correct.
focused on the cell
Correct.
phone. Easy.
Yes.
Yes. You did not hear, on his version, a cricket bat hitting a door.
Lady, that's correct. I did not hear the cricket
Ma'am, I
bat.
put it to you that you made up your mind that his version could not be. You interpreted cricket bat shots to be gunshots and a screaming to be a woman screaming and not the accused. And if you didn't do that, his version would have made sense.
My lady, I don't see how that could make sense. I've never heard a cricket bat, but my brother once kicked the door down as a child doing karate, and I heard that. It was loud, but it wasn't a gunshot. What I heard was gunshots.
You're standing next to your brother,
I was in the passage. We were doing karate, so he
Not-
was running and he jumped.
not 177 meters away.
No.
Did he break the door?
Yes, so there was a hole in the door.
Would you say that the cricket bat, the hard wood, would be the same as his kicking?
I'm not an expert at that, sir, but gunshots are very loud. Bashing a door for me is not so loud.
Yeah, just the last point about your experience with shots. You spoke about a driving range, but it's shooting range. When did you go there?
Excuse me, I couldn't
When
hear.
did you go to the shooting range?
When did I go?
Yes.
It was quite a few years ago.
Give us an idea.
I can't say whether it was 5 or 7 years ago. It was numerous years ago. I don't enjoy guns.
Yes. And how many shots did you fire?
So that's totally irrelevant for me, my lady. I didn't know whether it was 10 or 20 shots.
Can you remember or not?
No. It is an irrelevant event many years ago for me to shoot. I did not even put the bullets in. Someone did it for me. I don't like guns.
Yes. I understand when you go to a shooting range, they give you the protective hearing aid that you must put on. Did you put it on?
Yes, I did. When I shot, not when the other people shot.
So you had it on and then you stood next to someone else shooting. Did you take it off the hearing?
My lady, I understand the question. I understand the question. When I got out of the car, I did hear shooting without anything on my ears. So I know what shots sound like.
When you got out of it's in a closed shooting range because we know that.
No, sir, it was open. It was open area.
And then after that, what other shooting did you hear after the shooting?
Well, I was at that shooting range, as I explained, and once I was at a closed shooting range when I was younger, when someone else shot.
Yes.
And then my other experience is just I've heard gunshots at night in my life before.
But not when you live in this very safe area, just before that.
Yes, I've never heard it in Silver Stream. This is the first time I've heard shots in Silver
So it
Stream.
was before 2011.
No, I've heard shots. The 14th of February
Yes,
2013.
I'm not talking about that. Before.
No, I only moved in 2011.
So was the other shots that you heard, was it before 2011?
Yes. When in other areas that I lived.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the last time that you heard shots, Councillor, was before 2011?
Well, I didn't take notes of exactly when I was hearing shots, but I did definitely not hear any shots while I was sleeping in Silver Street. That's the only shots I heard. And I cannot comprehend any other time in that period that I heard shots. So it must have been before.
Yes. Thank you, my lady. I have no further questions.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
That's good, pieces. Madam, just one or two things. Do you know how heavy a cricket bat would be?
My brother used to have a cricket bat, so I've played with a cricket bat before.
And you played hockey, am I right?
No, I'm more into netball. I was into netball.
Sorry. Now, if you think about your brother's cricket bat, and you want to break down a door, how would you do that? How would you do that?
How would I break down the door?
Yeah, with the cricket bat.
The lady, I would take the bat and I would swing it back and I would hit.
So you'll swing the bat back and you hit the door.
Yes, if I wanted to try
And if you want to hit it again,
I would take it back again and
hit it again.
yeah,
And if you want to hit it again,
I would try and do the same thing again, over and over.
just explain to us the shots you heard. How was the sequence?
It was bang, 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 bang.
So,
There was a
madam,
longer.
With this bang, 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 would it have been possible for somebody to wield a cricket bat at that pace? Possible to take a bat and hit it bang, bang, bang.
Oh no, not the second and the third and the fourth. I don't.
Not the second, the
I don't
third, and
think
the
so.
fourth. Then, madam, the statement you made. There are two things. The first thing first, your emotions at the time of making a statement. How did you experience it?
It was quite raw still.
It was quite
Raw, the emotion.
a raw emotion. And would Captain van Aert have seen your emotions?
He witnessed it.
What did he witness?
It was awful to hear a shout before the shots.
Madam, I know that you're emotional now. This is almost done. I'm going to ask you one more question, and I also want to get you out of there. I really also want to. So, how did you express your emotions when Captain van Aert took down your statement?
I told him everything I heard. And then I said to him, it's very difficult for me. When I'm in the shower, I relive her shouts.
You said to him that when you're in the shower, you relive the shouts.
Her terrifying screams.
And now, how are you coping?
I'm coping fine. It's been a year.
Then the last issue, madam, where you made your statement that you have in your hands or see your husband's statement.
I didn't hear that.
Did you have in your hands or see your husband's statement?
No, my lady, I didn't.
I have nothing further.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Berger, thank you very much for your assistance. You may step down.
Thanks, my lady.
It's the court, my lady. And it says, as I call the next witness, is Estelle van der Merwe. Before the witness comes in, I seek the same order. We've put the name on the list of the witnesses that would not want to be televised and or still photographs taken and or published. And she is number 6, my lady, on the list of witnesses.
Yes, before you even swear the witness in.
Mevrouw, wat is die volle naam van?
Hold on. Before you do that, I wish to make an order that no photograph of this witness may be televised or published in any form. Thank you very much. Yes, you may swear the witness in.
Mevrouw, wat is die volle naam van?
Pistorius van der Merwe.
Pistorius van der Merwe was the name of the witness, my lady. Het u enige bezwaar om die afgestuurde eed af te nemen?
Ja.
Doesn't have any objection in taking the prescribed code. Beschouw je dat als bindend op je geweten. Als het zo is, steek je rechterhand op en zeg, zweer je dat die getuigenis dat je gaan leveren, die waarheid gaan lezen, die hele waarheid, niks anders dan die waarheid niet. Steek je rechterhand op en zeg, zo help me God.
Zo help my God.
Witness is sworn in, my lady.
Thank you very much. You may be seated if you so wish. Yes, Miss Sinel.
As the court pleases, my lady. Madam, where do you live?
Mevrouw, waar is u woonachtig?
In Silverwoods en 180.
In Silverwoods in 180.
Madam, the accused in this matter, Mr. Oscar Pistorius, did you know him?
Mevrouw, heeft u die was te lachen voor u of Oscar Pistorius gekend?
Nee.
No.
Have you ever met him?
Heeft u hem ooit ontmoet?
Nee.
No.
Madam, this court case is about an incident that happened on the evening of 13 to 14 February 2013. You know that?
Hulle sê die gebeurtenis is oor die voorval wat op die 13de na die 14de van Februarie plaasgevind het. Weet u daarvan?
Ja.
Yes.
Now, on the 13th of February, who was at your house?
Op die 13de van Februarie, wie was by u huis?
Net my man en my kind en ek.
My husband, my child, and myself. Moet hard te praat, nee.
And anything special happened on the evening of the 13th of February?
Is daar enigiets spesiaals wat op die aan van die 13de van Februarie plaasgevind?
Nee.
No.
So, at what time did you go to bed?
Hoe laat het u bed toe gegaan, mevrouw?
So 9 uur se kant.
Around 9 o'clock, my lady.
If you say that you went to bed about 9 and your husband and child, what did they do?
En wat van die man en kind?
Hulle het ook gaan slaap.
They also went to bed.
Then something happened during that night.
Dat is iets wat gedurende die aan plaasgevind het, nee?
Ja.
Yes.
Please tell the court what happened.
Sê asseblief die hof wat het plaasgevind.
Ek het die oggend 1:56 wakker geword
Just a moment.
10:56. Ja.
met geluide wat klink soos iemand wat hard praat of wat beklei.
My lady, I woke up around 1:56 in the morning. I heard sounds. It seemed like somebody was involved in a fight, on a bekleierery of what.
Luid hard praat.
And these people are talking in loud voices, my lady.
Dit aangehou vir ongeveer 'n uur.
It lasted for about an hour.
Ek kon nie hoor wat die persoon sê
I couldn't hear what this person was saying.
en ek kon ook nie hoor wat se taal die persoon praat nie.
And I also couldn't understand in what language this person was talking.
Relax. Sorry, my lady. The witness is terribly tense. May I just get her to relax, my lady? Madam,
Please relax. Take your time.
Gaat u tekenen?
You sure you can do that?
Ja, als je dit kan doen. Zou je dit kunnen doen? Ja. I'll be able to make it, my lady.
Madam, let's carry on. You said it lasted for about an hour. That's
Okay, ons gaan voeren dat het op ongeveer een uur gedurende doet.
Before you go on, how did you experience it? What did you do?
Voor je nog voor het gaan, hoe het u dat ervaren? Wat heb u te doen?
Ek was baie geïrriteerd daarmee want ek moes slaap, my seentjie sou begin het met eksamen.
Okay. My lady, I was irritated by that because I was supposed to go. I was supposed to sleep, seeing that my boy was supposed to sit for his exams shortly.
Yeah. So you say you were irritated by it, and what did you do?
En toen wat heb je daarmee gedaan toen je geïrriteerd was?
Ek het maar net soms een keer 'n kussing op my kop gesit met die hoop dat ek weer kan slaap.
At some stage, I placed a pillow on top of my head with the hope of falling asleep once more or again, my lady.
Op 'n stadium het ek opgestaan om te kyk of ek iets kan sien.
At some stage, I woke up, being under the impression that wanting to see if there is something that I could see.
Maar ek het uitgekyk aan die kant van farm in.
But I looked out towards the side of farm in.
Ek het niks gesien nie en ek het weer teruggeklim in die bed.
Still, I couldn't see anything, my lady. I then went back to bed again.
Om ongeveer 3 uur se kant het ek 4 klokgeluide gehoor.
And around about 3 o'clock in the morning, I heard 4 gunshots. 4 gunshots, my lady. It's weird.
Plof is thud sounds, not gunshots. She said plofgeluide. It's interpreted gunshots. It's really not.
I don't know what to call it.
I do not know what to call it, my lady. As the witness says, she says she also doesn't know what to call it.
I agree with Mr.
Yes.
Roux that what was said was plofgeluide.
More like bomb shots.
Exploding sound.
Explosion shots, something like that, my lady. Because the witness also says she doesn't know what to refer them to.
Madam,
Let's just get it, sorry.
It's thud.
It's
Plofgeluide is a thud. Thud. It's not an explosive sound.
yes, Mr. Nat.
but I'll carry on.
Yes, but shouldn't we be clear what the witness is trying to say?
I will clear that up.
Yes.
I think with more questions we could perhaps clear that up. Madam, please explain the best you can what you heard. The 4 sounds. What was it?
Mevrouw, probeer alsjeblieft je beste om het mooi te verdedigen. Wat er type geleden was het, wat u hoorde?
Ek het van Mike gevra, Mike van haar gevra klink wat is die beste naam om te beskryf?
My lady, I inquired from Mr. Mike van Ark as to how can I best explain the sounds I heard.
En hy het vir my gesê dit is plofgeluide.
And he said it was more like thud shots.
But that's fine. Tell us what you told him, Captain Parker. What did you hear?
Sê ons wat u hom gesê het. Wat het u vir kaptein van Ark gesê?
Ek het vir hom gesê ek het 4 geluide gehoor wat ek weet nie hoe om dit te beskryf
Okay.
nie.
I told him that I had 4 sounds, but I do not know how to describe them.
En hy het vir my gesê jy noem dit plofgeluide.
And he said to me, you call them thud shots.
Now, the 4 shots you heard, if you sit now and think back, what did you hear?
Die 4 gelede wat u gehoor het, as u nou sit en rus drink. Wat was het?
Ek bedoel,
Watter type gelede was het?
What did you hear?
Wat het u gehoor?
dit
Just tell the court what you heard.
Sê my die hoofd, wat het u gehoor?
klink soos moet ek die geluid beskryf? Is dit
It sounded like, do you want me to describe
Yes.
the sound?
If you can.
As jy dit kan doen, mevrou.
bang bang?
Bang, bang, as she
Dis die
says it,
beste
my
wat ek
lady.
kan doen.
That's the best I can do.
Now, I know it goes back a long while, and I just want you to, if you can, to explain to the court if you heard the sounds. You said bang bang. Carry on and just tell us the 4 sounds in the sequence that you heard. What did it sound like?
Sê ons nou al verduidelik nou in die manier hoe jy die geluide gehoor het.
Dit van waar ek gelê het, het dit nogal kort op mekaar geklink.
From where I was sleeping, my lady, they were shortly one after the other.
Good. Now, the arguments that you heard, or the voices, let me rather say, the voice you heard, what happened to that?
Wat het van die stemme geword wat jy gehoor het?
Nadat ek die skote gehoor het,
After hearing the four sounds,
dit was absolute stilte.
there was total silence, my lady.
What happened then after that?
Wat het daarna plaasgevind?
Nadat ek die 4 skote gehoor het, het ek gehoor my man word wakker.
After I heard the 4 shots, I heard my husband waking up.
Ek het hom gevra wat maak so en hy het vir my gesê dit is geweerskote.
I then asked him what was doing there. My lady, I'll put it literally as a witness says it, and to us saying,
Dit is geweerskote.
he then said those were firearm sounds, or gunshots, to be more precise, my lady.
Yes, and
And
what happened then?
En toe wat het daarna gebeur het?
My man het toe opgestaan en hy het by die venster gaan uitkyk,
My husband then woke up, he then looked out of the window,
maar hy het niks gesien nie.
but he couldn't see anything.
Hy het toe teruggeklim in die bed.
He then went back to bed.
Hy het toe ons 'n commotion gehoor
We then had a commotion, as she says it in English, my lady.
en ekskuus.
No, please relax. Take your time. It's really important that we get your version.
Vat maar net die tyd, dis baie belangrik wat ons hier gaan kan hoor nie.
Are you fine?
Sal jy kan spoor nie?
May I just ask the witness if she's fine, my lady?
Yes,
Is you alright?
May I just ask the witness if she's still fine?
Yes.
Is you alright?
ek is
Are you fine?
She says she's fine, my lady.
Okay. So you heard a commotion and what then?
Okay, toe
my
hoor jy
man
nou
het
die
toe die
commotion.
sekuriteit geskakel om te hoor wat aangaan.
My husband then called the security just to hear as to what was happening.
Ek kan nie mooi onthou wat die tye wat ek kan nie meer die tyd onthou nie en ek kan nie mooi onthou wat toe daarna gebeur het maar
Okay.
kort
My lady, I can't recall the exact time anymore and as to what happened afterwards. But shortly after that,
toe hoor ek iemand wat baie hard huil.
I then heard somebody who was crying out loud.
The okay, you heard somebody crying.
Ek hoor
Right.
iemand heel hard en toe.
Ek het my man gevra wie huil so
I then asked my husband as to who was crying like that.
en hy het vir my gesê dis Oscar.
He then said it was Oscar.
Want dit het vir my geklink soos 'n vrou se stem.
Because to me it seemed like a woman's voice.
Ek
Did your husband ever leave the room?
Het die man uit die kamer uitgestaan?
ek kan nie onthou nie.
I really can't remember.
Now, let us just go back. We'll carry on from here. You said you heard a voice that irritated you.
Jy sê dit stem gehoor wat jy irriteer.
Now, were you able to say if that was Man or a woman's voice?
Was
Just-
in staat om te kunnen horen wat 'n vrou of 'n
Just
man
hold
sê,
on
maar-
once, I'm not sure.
A man or a woman's voice, my lady.
The voice that irritated her.
That irritated her, yes. That she heard before the shooting. Before the
She didn't say voices.
The only voice.
One voice.
one voice.
Thank you. Thank you.
'n vrouens stem. My lady, I just said a woman's voice.
Yeah.
Moet ek
Yes,
aangaan?
yes,
Maar
please
sy
do.
precies.
Op die stadium het ek opgestaan en ek het by die venster gaan uitkyk en ek het baie voertuie.
Okay, at some stage I also got up, proceeded towards the window, looked through the window, and saw many vehicles.
En 'n ambulans voor Oscar se huis.
Excuse?
En 'n ambulans voor Oscar se huis.
As well as an ambulance in front of Oscar's house.
My man het later die oggend vir die sekuriteit geskakel en hulle gehoor wat gaan aan.
My husband called the security company late in the morning just to ascertain from them as to what was happening.
En hulle het vir hom gesê Oscar het sy vriendin geskiet.
That's when they told him that Oscar shot his friend.
Madam, there's a file in front of you. Would you just open that at Exhibit F? You'll see it's marked in red
In red.
on the side.
Okay.
Exhibit F.
Yes, sir.
And in Exhibit F, would you please page to slide 920, 920.
What was that?
Madam, on that's an aerial photograph. Are you able to identify your house on it?
Yes.
Can you see him again?
Ja.
Yeah.
Which one is that?
What one is it?
180.
The 181, my lady.
There would, yeah, where it's written 180, is that yours?
Was it easy? Yeah.
And the accused house,
En die was gelaten size?
Dit is 287. Ja.
The 371.
Nee, dis nie hy nie. En die prys van Oscar se huis. Ek weet nie of dit 387.
No, it's not 37, my lady. With the arrow pointed
O, okay.
towards the house.
Ja, dis
It's
is.
Oscar's house.
is that his house?
Because I say yes.
Did you know you were staying in that house?
Heb je
that
geweten, die
evening?
blij dat?
Ja.
Yes.
Would you turn to photograph 933? Can you recognize that?
Heb je niet gelezen, toch? Yes.
What is that?
Wie zei ze dat?
Dit is ons huis.
Our house.
And 934.
Yes.
What is that, man?
Wat hier is het?
Dit is die balkon van ons huis.
This is the balcony of our house.
And the little red arrow, what does that indicate?
Die,
Dis Oscar se huis.
this is Oscar's house, Marie.
And 935.
Dis Oscar se huis.
Oscar's house.
With the arrow.
Ja.
Die,
And the balcony.
In the balcony.
Dis ons huis.
Our house.
Now, you were inside the house and in the main bedroom.
Die was
When you
binnen
heard the
geweest in
voice.
die bloedslaapkamer toen je die stemmen gehoord hebt. Yes.
And do you have windows in your bedroom?
Was daar vensters in die slaapkamer?
Ja.
Yes.
Were they open or closed?
Was het toe of hoe?
Ek kan nie vir jou sê nie want my man maak dit oop.
My lady, I can't respond to that question because my husband is the one who opens and closes the windows.
Now, after this incident, Did it happen that you've heard voices at night again?
Na die voorval het het gebeur dat die weer stemme gedurende die aand gebeur.
I'm so sorry to object. It's not my style. I'm worried about the question that happened that you had voices again. Whilst I understand the corrected evidence was that you had a voice. So I failed to link the voices again to any evidence. There was incorrectly stated voices, but it was corrected.
I will be careful and I'll rephrase. After this incident, did you hear a voice
Na die voorval het jy 'n stem gehoor
at night again?
in die aand.
Is dit nou jy praat nie nou van enige ander tyd?
Yes.
Are
Any
you
other?
referring to any other time? Ja.
Ja.
Yes, I did.
When was that?
En wanneer was het?
Ek het die oggend van die 21ste Februarie het ek wakker geword. Ek het nie op die horlosie gekyk want
Oh.
man se horlosie.
On the morning of the 21st of February, I woke up in the morning. I didn't look at the watch, want die man het die horlosie gehad.
Ja, hy is van die man.
Because the watch was in my husband's possession.
En daar was sy voor sy klokhorlosie was sy waterbottel.
And next to his stock, there was a water bottle.
Ek het iets geklink wat klink soos mans wat hard praat of beklei.
I had voices, male voices. It seems as they were talking loud, and it seemed as if they were involved in a fight.
Ek het uitgekyk aan die kant van farm 1.
I looked towards the side of the family.
Ek het niks gesien nie
I couldn't see anything.
en ek het omgestap na die kant van waar Oscar se huis is.
I don't proceeded towards the side where our car was situated.
En ek het deur die venster gekyk en ek het ligte aangesien by Oscar se huis.
I looked through the window. That's when I saw lights at Oscar's house.
En dit was donker, so ek is nie seker oor die voertuig nie, maar dit gelyk soos 'n wit SUV wat voor die huis staan.
It was dark, my lady, but I'm not sure about, is nie seker hoe dit clearly, about the color of the motor vehicle, but it seemed like a white SUV. Waar was het geparkeerd?
Voor Oscar se huis.
Standing next to Oscar's house.
Dit het geklink soos twee persone wat met mekaar argumenteer.
It seemed like two persons who were arguing with each other.
Ek is dit het nie vir baie lank aangehou nie,
Well, it didn't last for very long,
maar ek het besluit ek gaan voor die venster staan en kyk of ek iemand sien.
but I
uitkom.
decided that I'll go and stand next to the window just to see if I can see a certain person or a person.
Ek het 'n manspersoon sien die sy huis verlaat
I then saw a male person leaving his house
en ek het weer teruggeklim in die bed.
and then went back to bed again.
Man, you said it was the 21st of February, am I
He
right?
said it was op die 21ste van Februarie.
Ja.
Yes, in the morning.
If you say in the morning, were you still sleeping?
Was hy het nie nog steeds geslaap, was hy in die oggend.
Ja, ek het wakker geword van die stemme.
The voices woke me up, my lady.
Now, you said 21st of February of which year?
Watter jaar was het?
2014,
2014. Een jaar,
hierdie jaar.
dat year.
On this particular, on the first instance in 2013, how many voices did you hear of how many people?
Op die eerste voorval wat in 2013 plaasgevind het, hoeveel stemmen heb je gehoord?
Net een.
Only one.
And you've already identified, I just want to make sure, and was that a male or a female voice?
Was het een vrouw of een mansstem?
'n vrouenstem.
It was a female's voice.
And op 21st, and the 21st of February 2014, you heard, was it the male or a female voice?
En op die 21 van februari was het een vrouw of mansstem. It was male person's voices.
Now, on the first occasion, 14 February 2013, did you know where those voices were, that voice were coming from?
Nou,
Op die 13e het hij geweet waar vandaan en hij stem vandaan komt. Nou,
Yeah. But in February 2014, you know where it came.
Maar in hier waar vandaan dat kwam het in die jaar niet.
Ja.
Yes.
And it came from?
Waar vandaan?
Oscar's huis.
From Oscar's house.
Now, madam, I just want us to just go back and just think about the voice you heard.
Hoeveel keer heb je terug en denk aan die stem wat je hoorde?
2013.
In 2013.
You said you heard it from what time?
Hoe laat ongeveer was het toen je die stem hoorde?
Van 1:56 af toe ek wakker geword het.
From around 1:56 when I woke up, my lady.
Can you explain to the court what you heard? Was it talk and a stop and talk and a stop, or how did you experience it?
What did you hear? Was het een gepraterij en een gestopperij en een gepraterij? Wat heb je gehoord?
Dit was ek het
Yeah, no,
Just a
please.
minute.
dit was gepraat en gestop en gepraat en gestop. Het was nie aanhoudend.
Okay. This person was talking, stopping, talking, and it wasn't continuously.
Dit het vir my geklink waar ek gelê het soos twee persone wat met mekaar in 'n argument is.
To me, from where I was sleeping, my lady, it seems like two people who were involved in an argument.
Maar een persoon se stem kon ek nie hoor.
But I couldn't hear the other person's voice.
Now, in 2013, when you now heard the voices and your husband woke up, did you tell him what you heard?
Nou in 2013, toe jy die stemme gehoor het, toe die man nou wakker word, het jy hom gesê wat hy gehoor het?
Nie onmiddellik nie.
No, not immediately, my lady.
Did you later?
Later?
Ek het hom later daarvan vertel omdat ek nie geweet het waar vandaan die
Oh. I told him later about that because I didn't know where those voices were coming from.
You said you knew that it was Mr. Oscar Pistorius' house. How did you know that?
He said that as when he was got Pistorius, hy is met hier aan gaan doen.
want hy
You're talking about which date now?
In 2013, my lady.
Okay.
In 2013.
Wat in 2013 plaasgevind het. Moet nie geweet sy huis.
want ek het altyd daar uitgetrek met sy BMW en hy het altyd vriendelik gegroet.
Because he always drove out in his white BMW and he greeted us in a friendly manner.
My lady, like yesterday, and I won't make a habit of it, but it's 10 to 1 again. And I'm bringing the exact same application I did yesterday, my lady. If we could perhaps stand down and start 10 minutes earlier after the break.
I take it there's no objection. Court will adjourn.
I apologize for that, my lady.
Yes, Mr. Pistorius.
Sorry I'm late.
That's fine. Please take a seat. You're still under oath, ma'am?
Is nog steeds onder ede, mevrouw? Yes, my lady.
As a piece of court, my lady. Madam, I have two more issues. Now, the first is, apart from the four noises you've heard, did you hear any other?
No.
No.
You've testified about the voice of a woman you heard.
Ek het gehoor die stem van die vrou wat ek gehoor het, nee.
Did you hear any screams by any?
Het enige gille of geskree gehoor?
Glad nie.
Not at all.
Thank you, my lady. I have nothing further.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Roux?
Thank you, my lady. Mrs. van der Merwe, is it Mrs.?
Is het my juffrou of mevrou? Mrs.
I start with the events that you referred to of the 21st of February this year.
Hy sê ons sal begin met die gebeurtenisse wat op die 21ste van Februarie van jaar plaasgevind het.
Where you heard, I think, 2 male voices.
Daar waar jy 2 manstemme gehoor het.
I'll tell you what it was all about.
Sê ons waaroor was dit?
I'll tell you.
Okay, hy sal nie sê. Okay.
We did tests of a woman and a man screaming as loud as they could in the bedroom
Hy sê hulle toetse gedoen oor 'n man en vrou wat hardop geskree het in die slaapkamer.
to determine how far sound would travel,
Net om vas te stel hoe ver stemme kan gaan.
2 to 3 in the morning.
Ongeveer 2 en 3 uur in die oggend.
And what's interesting, and I'll come to it in relation to your house, you could not hear the screaming.
Hy sê wat van belang is, maar jy kom nog na daai punt. Jy kon nie iemand hoor gil nie, nee. Nou,
Yes. And you know why it is?
ek sê weet jy hoekom was dit? Of was dit?
I went to where your house is, where all of us, and to where Mr. Pistorius' house is. And if you accept what I say, it's fine, then I don't have to demonstrate it. But from your balcony, his bedroom and his balcony door and the bathroom even, all of them are right on the opposite side of the house. So the part of the house of Oscar Pistorius that you're looking at, that's the front side. The bedroom's right on the other side, with the bedroom opening, the balcony opening on the side far away, furthest away from your house. Is that correct?
Verstaan jy dit? Is dit so?
I don't know.
Hy sê, I do not know,
Yes, because you don't know the house on the inside.
want jy weet nie, nee.
I just put it as you, that's how it is. That's why you won't hear, because you're on the wrong side, number 130.
Is dit die rede waarom jy nie kon hoor nie, want jy was aan die verkeerde kant van die plek, van die huis.
Dit is moontlik.
It's possible, my lady.
Now that evening, and I take you back not to confuse you, Mrs. van der Merwe.
We apologize for the interruption, my lady. The court orderly was just telling us that the witness must just get closer to the microphone because it seems as if your voice can't be recorded properly. Sorry for the interruption.
Mrs. van der Merwe, that night, and I have nothing to say that you could not sleep, I accept that. And you were awake.
That's niks wat ek kan sê oor hier betrokke aan dat jy nie kon slaap nie.
And I accept that around about 2 o'clock you were awake.
Hy sê en hy aanvaar dat hy ongeveer 2 en 3 uur oggend alreeds wakker was, nee. Yes.
But I want to ask you something and then confirm to me if it's correct or incorrect what I'm reading to you.
Maar hy sê wel jy nou iets vra, jy moet sê wat reg of nie reg is nie, nee. Die wat hy vir u gaan uitlees.
I woke up,
Hy sê wakker geword.
I looked at a clock watch and I saw that it was 1:56.
Ek het na die horlosie gekyk te sien nie, dis 1:56.
Would that be a fair reflection of what you say?
Yes.
Yes.
And then I'm going to read the Afrikaans and ask you about it. Ek het 'n vrouestem gehoor, maar kon nie die woorde of taal hoor nie. I heard the voice of a female, but could not hear the words or the language.
Is dat so?
Dis reg.
That is correct.
If anything is incorrect, what you heard that evening, please tell me, will you?
As daar enigiets
If it differs from what I'm reading to you.
Die sê jy moet hom sê, né?
Ja.
I will.
Dit was ver van ons huis af. It was far from our house.
Is dit so?
Dis reg.
Dit is korrek. Jy moet net hardop praat want hulle sê die stem neem nie op nie. Asseblief tog.
What we do now let me ask you, not to be unfair. Is it not correct, Mr. Van der Merwe? It was not that you hear a continuous talking and a non-stop talking. That's not correct.
Dit is nie korrek nie, né?
Ja.
Yes.
There would be a female voice and then it would be quiet for periods and then you would hear a female voice again.
Jy sê jy kan na veel mense stem hoor, dan is dit stil vir 'n lang ruk, dan hoor jy weer die vrou se stem.
Reg, korrek.
You
Yes,
did
that is
not.
correct.
You did not time the intervals to say, well, this one was 5 minutes and this one is 20 minutes.
En jy kon nie tel vir hoe lank dit was nie. Nou,
There were shorter intervals and there were longer intervals.
daar was korttermyne en langtermyne.
Ja.
Yes.
I get the impression, and you can help me, that before you heard the shots, there was a interval, a silent period, and then it was disturbed by the, whatever you call it, the force, thud, 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 or the shots.
Jy sê voor jy die skote gehoor het, was daar lang stilte. Voor jy die skote kan hoor, nie.
Ek kan nie dit meer mooi onthou nie. Dit was bietjie lank terug.
So what?
My lady, I just can't remember correctly anymore because it's quite some time ago.
So what you say, you can't say that before the shots, if there was a long period of silence or not.
Ja.
Is that what you said?
Correct.
Yes, that is correct.
It follows that you can't say for some period before the shots that it was talking. It must follow. It's the same thing.
Sê nie?
Please repeat your question.
Of course I will. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
If you can't say whether there was for a short or a long period before the, let's call it the shooting to make it easy. Let's refer to the shooting, the shots. Let's call it that.
Jy sê kom ons verwys na dit as die verskietery.
You did not hear the female voice.
Jy het nie die vroumens stem gehoor nie, nee.
No, sorry, the question was a bit different. You said to me that you cannot say, you can't remember before the shooting whether there was a long period of silence, of meaning not hearing a female voice or not. You can't remember.
Dit sal ek nie kan onthou nie.
Dis korrek.
That is
It
correct.
means if you can't remember that, you can also likewise not say that before the shots there was a female voice.
Is dit so?
Ekskuus dit.
Repeat yourself
You
again.
cannot say shortly before the shots you heard a female voice. Shortly before.
Jy sal nie kan sê dat kortliks na die skote het jy vroumens stem gehoor nie.
Nee.
No, I can't say that.
Yes. In fact, what sounded to you when you heard this noise on and then for periods not talking or not, because it's not talking that you hear a voice far away without, you cannot make out language, you cannot make out words, but it must have sounded to you if it was coming from the farm in direction, because that's your first instinct to walk there and see who would be talking, what would it be, to go in that direction where you hear it from. Not so.
Can you rephrase, please?
She says, please rephrase your question.
I'm sorry, it's too long. At some point, we don't know when, you got up and you walked to the farm inside.
Jy sê op 'n sekere tydstip of punt
Nou,
het jy opgestaan en na 'n sekere rigting in die huis en
To see if you could not see anything.
net om vas te stel of jy nie enigiets kan sien nie.
Is that right?
Is dit so?
Dis korrek.
Dit is korrek.
And it would only make good sense to me that if you get up to see what it is, you would walk and look in a direction where you hear the voice coming from.
Ja, dat sal maar net sin maak. Sê nou maar as jy miskien stemme of geraas hoor, sal jy na die rigting toe stap waar jy dit vandaan gehoor gekom het, sê ek nie?
Ek het geen idee gehad waar dit vandaan gekom het nie.
I had no idea where that noise was coming from.
So ek het maar gaan kyk aan die kant. Ek was te bang om te stap aan die ander kant om my man wakker te maak.
I just went to look from the other side. I was scared to walk around the other side to go and wake up my husband.
And the farm inside is to the south of your house.
Dis na die suidelike
It's the
rigting.
opposite side of Oscar's house.
Die oorgestelde rigting van die suidelike rigting. Yes.
The fact is, you never heard any arguing.
Ek het geen argument gehoor nie. Mr. Yeri, I did.
All, let me put it to you again, take you back. All you heard was, I'm reading it again, 'n vroue stem, maar ek kon nie die woorde of taal hoor nie. I'll translate it. Dit was ver van ons huis af. You heard a woman's voice. You could not hear the words or the language spoken, and it was far from your house. That is what you heard.
Is dit wat jy gesê het?
Ja, dis wat ek gesê
Dis
het,
wat hy sê het.
maar ek moet sê ek ken 'n vrou se stem
But I must say that I know a woman's voice.
en as dis gewoonlik in 'n vrou se stem waar daar baie buige beweging is
And there's many movements within a woman's voice.
wanneer ons kwaad raak.
Especially when we become angry or cross my lady.
But here it's far away. You can't hear words, you can't hear language.
Maar op die stadium is dit ver van waar jy is, want jy kan nie die woorde hoor nie en ook nie die taal nie.
Ek is eerlike waarheid sê ek weet nie van watter rigting af dit gekom het nie. Want ek het nie die moeite gedoen om eintlik uit te vind nie, want ek moes slaap.
Okay. To tell the honest truth, my lady, I do not know from which direction those sounds were coming from because I was trying by all means to
In that
fall
area,
asleep.
you can hear there's a game park, you can hear hyenas,
Dis 'n
jackal.
park daar waar jy bly nie.
Have you ever heard of there?
I never, only a lion.
A lion. And we all do it from time to time when you battle to sleep. At some point in time, to cut out all noises, you put the pillow on your head.
Ek sê elke slag wanneer jy
There's
nie aan
nothing
die slaap kan
strange
raak,
about
jy
that.
vat die kussing en sit dit op die kop nie, sodat jy aan die slaap kan raak.
Dis reg.
Dit is correct, I do.
Now, to take the one point that I'm making to the next level, and it's this. You did not, when you heard the sounds that your husband told you were gunshot sounds, you did not say to him, but hang on, those gunshot sounds followed an argument. Not, he was talking to you, you didn't tell him that.
Op die stadium het jy met die man gepraat, toe jy gesê het dat geweerskote, het jy nie gesê dat die skote aflopig is van 'n argument wat plaasgevind het nie.
Nee, ek het nie.
No, I didn't.
If you really believed that morning when you spoke to your husband that there was any connection between that voice and the gunshots, he would have told your husband that morning already.
So jy raai al gaan glo dat daar enige koneksie is tussen die stemme wat jy gehoor het en die skote, dan sou jy iemand daarvan gesê het, nee,
That morning.
daai oggend.
Omdat ek nie seker was waar dit vandaan gekom het nie, het ek besluit om liewer stil te niks te sê van my man nie.
Because of the fact that I wasn't sure as from which direction those sounds were coming from, that's the reason why I decided to say nothing to my husband.
But what is important, that after, let's call it the shots, and I want to use your words, I heard someone crying out loudly.
Ek sê ek het gehoor iemand hard, heel hard op.
Dis reg, ja.
That is correct.
Dis reg, ja.
It's correct. Ek het hard gepraat, nie?
And it sounded to you like a woman's voice,
En vir
a
ieder
woman
van-
crying out loudly.
Asof wat 'n vrou mens stem is wat hard op hy.
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
But your husband knows Oscar.
Maar die man, geen mens vir ons kan nie.
Ek weet nie, my man het nooit met my gesê of hy wel ooit met Oscar gepraat het of nie.
Well, I do not know because my husband never told me whether he once spoke to Oscar or not.
Ekskuus, ek het my verkeerd uitgespreek. My man het vir my gesê hy het met Oscar al gepraat,
Sorry, Josh, my husband once told me that he once spoke to Oscar,
maar hy het nooit vir my gesê waaroor nie.
but he never told me what about.
I'm sorry, Malay.
I'm sorry.
It's not once. It's. Can she just repeat that? Don't say
Sorry?
een keer. Hy
Die
het
man
al
gesê?
met Oscar gepraat.
Hy het al met Oscar gepraat, ja.
He spoke to Oscar Josh, but didn't tell me what about me.
Ja, nee, no, that's correct.
That is correct.
It's not only once they cross the street, not directly across, but they talk about cars, he tells me. They had a couple of conversations.
En ek sê, dit is nie net eenmaal nie. Hulle praat oor algemene dinge.
Ek weet nie.
Well, I do not know about that. I do not know.
And your husband told you when you asked him, he said it's Oscar crying there. That's Oscar's voice.
En jou man, jy gesê, is Oscar wat hy in die sy stem.
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
And what happened after that? Did you hear the vehicles coming?
En wat het daarna gebeur toe jy nou die karre gehoor aanry kom?
Ons het maar net 'n commotion gehoor en ek het by die venster, ek kan net vir jou dit ek kan nie baie mooi onthou nie want ek het maar net 'n commotion gehoor.
I just heard a commotion. I can't say more about that and do.
En ek het 'n ambulans toe gesien, dis maar basies al.
And I also saw an ambulance as well, and that's basically all that happened.
Something that you mentioned that I want to ask you about, and maybe I misunderstood you, and you can correct me, of course. But I get the impression that after you heard the sounds like someone loudly crying, you also mentioned at some point in time that you have an inability to remember the events later on. Or did I miss that?
Was dit so het ek dit gemis of is dit wat u gesê het?
Ek het dit is 'n jaar en 'n bietjie langer as 'n jaar terug dat die insident gebeur het. So dit is ek kan nie absoluut alles 100% onthou nie.
This incident happened more than a year ago, so I can't recall every detail of the incident clearly, my lady.
Can you say that after the crying, you heard the crying, can you tell us what you were doing then after the crying?
Okay, nou jy nou die
Hearing the crying.
Die geheilery gehoor het. Wat was jy besig om te doen? Toe die geheilery plaasgevind het.
Ek het nog gelê in die bed.
I was just lying in bed.
Ek het groot geskrik. En ek het regop gesit. Dis basies al wat ek gedoen het.
I was terribly frightened. Toe opgesit.
Regop gesit.
I then sat up straight in bed, my
And
lady.
then?
En toe?
Ek kan nie onthou nie.
I can't remember anymore. It's long ago.
You heard at some stage, you saw the vehicle, you saw ambulance in front of Oscar's house.
Op 'n stadium het jy 'n ambulans voor Oscar se huis gesien, nee.
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
But you did not hear it coming. You just, at some stage when you looked through the window, you saw the ambulance.
Maar ek het gehoor toe dit nog aangereg gekom het. Ek het maar net hierdie venster verloor. Toe sien jy die ambulans daar staan.
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
How old's your baby?
Hoe oud was die baba?
How old was he then?
Ekskuus tog?
Your baby, how old was your baby? Your
Hoe
child?
oud was uw kind op
I say
daai
baby, but maybe
Die seun wat
older.
hier van melding gemaakt het. Hoe oud was hy?
11 years old.
11 jaar, my lady.
Did he wake up?
Het hy opgestaan?
Nee.
Nou,
Did you perhaps go to him to see that he was okay?
het hy na hom toe gegaan net om vast te stellen of hy alright is? Nou,
Did you go outside?
het hy naar buiten toe gegaan?
Nee.
Nou,
Did you remain in the bedroom?
het hy
Yes.
in die kamer bleef dat yes.
Was it a sort of attitude when you heard this loud crying that you were scared and you thought, let me rather stay safe in my house?
Was het
I
nou
don't
die
know what's
geheilery
going
wat hy gehoor het dat hy besluit het om stil in die huis te sit?
Ek het so groot geskrik. Ek het nie geweet wat om te doen nie. Ek het myself letterlik lam geskrik.
I was literally frightened. I didn't even know what to do. I was even weak shaken, my lady.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the first part. Could you just repeat that?
I got
Just
it.
because I didn't hear no other reason.
I got a terrible fright. I didn't even know what to do at that stage. Sy het lam geword.
Did you say that you
Van
were
die
paralyzed?
skrikkery.
Ja.
You were in shock.
Ja.
Van skok.
Ja.
Yes.
It's as if you cut off from the world for a while.
Asof jy nou buite
Going
werking
that,
is.
trying to understand.
Is dit wat jy
Nee, ek
dis
was-
wat ek probeer om te verstaan.
Nee, ek was nie ek het nie van die wêreld afgesny nie. Ek was maar net jy's lam gaan skrik. Jy skrik
No, I
sodat
wasn't
jy's lam.
cut out of the world. I was just weak because of shock, my lady.
And would that explain why you have a difficulty remember that part?
En sal dit nou
When you
verduidelik
were
hoekom u nou 'n probleem
in
het om
shock.
dat te kan onthou as gevolg van skok?
Dis moontlik, ek weet nie.
It's possible, but I do not know.
Go to bear with me. Could you just bear with me, my lady? Thank you, my lady. I have no further questions.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Nell?
May it please the court. Madam, I have 4 issues. On the early morning of 14 February 2013, you heard a woman's voice and you looked out to which direction?
Was this
From East direction.
On the 21st of February 2014, you heard voices and you looked out to which direction?
From East direction and Oscar's house.
But the first when you heard it and you had to look out, you looked out to which direction?
From in.
To Farmy.
With respect, I'm not sure that this is re-examination. It's getting it to repeat the evidence. That's not the purpose of re-examination.
Well, it's done already. It's
Yes,
on-
I know, my lady,
on
I should,
record.
but that's not
No,
re-examination.
but it is re-examination. It was a question about why she looked out at Farmy.
Why she did what?
Why? It was put to her that she looked out to Farmy because she didn't know. And that is what was covered as a good business.
Yes, yes, yes. I see what you mean.
Madam, you were saying, and you weren't given opportunity to build on it, that you know a woman's voice.
Ja, mevrou het gesê jy ken Afro-systeem nie.
Ja.
Yes.
And what did you want to say?
Wat wou jy gesê? Want dit lyk asof u nie kans gegee is om mooi uit te brei nie.
'n Vrou se stem is hoër as 'n man se stem. Maar
A man's voice is higher than a woman's voice is higher than a man's voice.
Yes.
'n man se stem is meer bas.
Yeah.
En
And a man's voice worship is more like of bass.
ja.
Yeah. There's more bass than a woman's.
En as 'n vrou opgewonde raak of dan is daar baie beweging.
And if a woman gets excited or something of that sort, there are many movements within a woman's voice.
What did you hear?
Wat het jy gehoor?
Ekskuus, wanneer is dit nou?
No,
When now?
that when you heard the woman's voice, what
Op
did
die
you?
stadium toe jy die vroumens stem gehoor het.
Ek het baie beweging, op en af beweging en dit was nie 'n man se stem nie.
I had a lot of up and down movements within that voice. It wasn't a man's voice, my lady.
Want daar was 'n groot verskil in die 21ste wat ek wakker geword het en die oggend van die 14de.
Because there was a big difference between those 2 days, the 21st as well as the 13th of February, 14th of February, when I woke up, my lady.
Madam, I said there are 4 issues, the third issue. You, in a question, you answered that you didn't tell your husband the next morning about the woman's voice you heard.
Op 'n vraag het hy beantwoord en gesê, het nie iets man gesê oor die vroumens wat ek gehoor het in die oggend nie.
Dis korrek.
Dit is korrek.
When did you tell him?
Wanneer het jy hom gesien?
Nadat ek gehoor het dat Oscar het sy vriendin geskiet.
After I learned that Oscar shot his girlfriend, my lady,
Then you told her.
to say iemand daarvan. Yes.
Madam, the fourth issue. You said that you were paralyzed with fear.
He said he was lam gestaan van skok nie.
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
Why were you paralyzed?
Hoekom
What
was hy
shocked you?
paralyseer van skok?
Ek is nie gewoond aan ek het nog nooit 'n wapenskoot gehoor nie. Dit was die heel eerste keer en omdat ek die persoon gehoor het wat so hard huil en ek nie geweet het wie dit was nie en ek nie geweet het wat die omstandighede was nie, het ek
That was because I never had a gunshot prior to that. And after hearing that person's voice, I really didn't know as to what was happening. And that's what shocked me.
Milady, I said before issues, I'm done. That's
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mrs. van der Merwe, thank you very much for your assistance.
U ook sê baie dankie dat u vir u help, né?
You may be excused.
U word nou verskoon, né?
baie
Thank you very much, my lady.
This witness is very relieved. May I call the next witness, Charles Johnson?
Do I make the same order? Do I make the same?
Indeed, my lady, I kindly request that the court makes the same order as far as this witness is concerned.
This is the order I make in respect of this witness who is about to give evidence. No photograph of him may be televised or published in any form.
As the court pleases, my lady.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Johnson?
Has he been sworn in?
Yeah, I am.
Die volle naam asseblief, meneer?
Charles Peter Johnson.
Charles Peter Johnson. Het u beswaar om die voorgeskrewe eed te neem?
Kyk nie.
No objection om to take the prescribed oath? Reg die regter aan en sê so help my God as die hele waarheid sal praat asseblief.
So help my God.
Swannie.
Court pleases.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, do you know the first witness in this matter, Michelle Berger?
Michelle Berger, ken jy die eerste getuie? Dis Michelle Berger in hierdie verhoor.
Ken haar, is my vrou.
I do know her. She is my wife.
And you live together in the Silverstream estate, is that correct?
Julle woon saam daar by Silveroak. Streek.
Dit is korrek.
Dat-
Ons woon saam in Silverstream landgoed.
That is correct. We staying together there.
What business are you in, Mr. Johnson?
Wat besigheid doen u, meneer Johnson?
Switch over to English. I work as a IT project manager.
My lady, the witness wishes to switch over to English.
But lady, may I kindly request that the witness would be fairly fluent in English. If he experiences a problem, if the interpreter could then assist.
No, that's fine. If you're comfortable with English and you want to testify in English, you may do so.
Thank you, lady.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, what business are you in?
I work as an IT project manager at an investment company called Citadel Investment Services.
We will have to speak up, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, a little louder than that.
Must I repeat?
Yes, please.
I work as an IT project manager at a investment company called Citadel Investment Services.
You're very soft.
I said I work as an IT project manager at a company called Investec. I beg your pardon, Citadel Investment Services.
Mr. Johnson, this matter deals with an incident that took place in the early hours of 14 February 2013. Do you know that?
Yes, I am aware of that.
Now, on the evening of 13 February 2013, were you at home?
Yes, we were at home.
You say we were at home. Who was with you?
It was my wife and I. It was a normal evening at home. if I can elaborate, I think we went to bed around 9, 10 o'clock that evening.
You'd have to try and speak louder. If I can't hear you from here, the chances are that no one else can hear you. Please try.
Should I repeat?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, as I said, my lady, it was a normal evening for us at home. We retired to bed around 9, probably between 9 and 10 that evening. So there was no, it was just a normal evening for us.
And then during the night and during the early hours of the next morning, an incident took place.
Yes.
Please tell the court what happened.
My lady, I woke up during the early mornings of the early morning hours on the 14th of February. I got woken up by the screams of a lady, a woman, and I remember after I woke up.
Just a moment. Yes.
After the first screams, I woke up. I lifted my head from the pillow to ensure that I heard correctly. And when I heard the lady scream again, I jumped out of bed and I ran to the balcony, which is on the first floor.
I didn't hear. After you jumped up, I didn't hear you.
After I jumped out of bed, I ran to the balcony. The balcony is on the first floor. It's approximately 10 meters from my bedside.
Mr. Johnson, it was not in dispute. Can you open the file in front of you at Exhibit F? It's marked in red at the side. And in Exhibit F, just turn to photograph 921. Or slide 921. Are you there?
Yes.
Kenrick, does that look familiar to you?
Yes, I can see it's an aerial shot of the Silver Woods estate, and in the upper left-hand corner I can see my house, which is in the Silver Stream estate.
Now, where would you, where's your house? Not back here.
It's this unit here.
Just keep your finger there. My lady, he's pointing towards exactly where there's a circle now. It's towards the roof, just above 46A Trevor. The roof just above the T. Am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
Is that your house?
That is my house.
Let's turn the page to 930. Okay, recognize that?
Yes, I do. That's a view from the balcony where I stood on the night of the event.
You stood on that balcony?
That's correct.
At the moment, there's a red arrow. Does that have any significance for you?
I know that that is the window where the incident took place.
Let us turn the page to 931. Can you recognize that view?
Yes, I do. It's a zoomed in image of the same view as the previous image, also from my balcony.
And if you turn to 932, you recognize that?
I do. It's the same view, same angle, from the same spot on our balcony, just further zoomed in.
Okay. Now, you said you got up, you ran to the balcony. What happened then?
When I got out onto the balcony, I stood there and I listened, and I again heard a lady person screaming. I could hear she was in trouble. It was clearly distress calls.
Yes.
I can't say exactly how long I stood there. It felt like a couple of minutes. And at one point I heard a lady person scream, "Help!" And moments after that, a male voice shouted 2 or 3 times. I'm not exactly certain, but it's more than once. A male person shouted, "Help, help, help."
What happened then?
It's at that point that my wife, who woke up when I got out of bed, called me back to the bedroom and said we should phone the security.
Yeah.
When I got back to the room, my wife handed me her phone. She had already dialed a number on the phone stored under the contact description security. And I understood that it was the security of the Silver Stream Estates security guard room.
Okay. Yes.
So the intention was that I would speak to our estate's security personnel. I know that they are in radio contact with the security room of the Silver Woods estate, so that I could inform them of what I've heard. People are being attacked in their house.
Yes.
At that point, we were under the impression that people are being attacked, like a house robbery or an armed robbery. So I wanted to bring it under the attention of the Silver Woods security estate's security. So when the person answered the telephone, I explained to them that there's people being attacked in a house in the Silver Woods estate, and they should contact their security room. The first person that I spoke to was confused by what I told them, and they handed the phone to a second person, to whom I repeated the message. And when I said there are people being attacked in the Silver Woods estate, the person informed me that it's not the Silver Woods estate guard room, it's the Strubenkop estate's security.
And why would you have called Strubenkop?
I realized immediately my wife had stored it's a place where we lived previously, and she had never changed the contact number for the contact on her phone stored under security. So I immediately realized that we had called the wrong number, and I informed the person it's a wrong number, and I ended the phone call.
And what happened after you ended the phone call?
At that point, I didn't pay any attention to any of the sounds coming from the house, or the direction where the earlier calls came from, so I can't give you any information on that. But I ran back to the balcony. When I got onto the balcony, the woman continued screaming. She started screaming again.
Okay, just a moment. Yes.
At that point, the intensity and the fear in her voice escalated, and it was clear that this person's life was in danger. That's when the first shots were fired, and I remember during the session of shots, I heard the lady scream again, and the last scream faded moments after the last gunshot was fired.
Before you carry on, you said that you heard the first gunshots. How many did you hear?
My lady, I knew there were a few shots. I didn't count them. In my version afterwards, when I told the first people, I said 5 or 6 shots. I didn't count the shots, but I knew there were quite a few. I've subsequently learned that it was 4, and it was confirmed in the reports.
Now, if you say you heard shots, could you explain what the time frame between the shots were, or what it sounded like to you?
Excuse me, can you
the shots, was there a time difference between the first and the second and third shots? What did you hear?
Yeah, there was a small pause after the first shot, and the remaining shots were fired in close succession.
So you then heard the shots. What happened there?
At that point, I returned to the bedroom, obviously quite alarmed and shocked at what we had heard. When I got back to the bedroom, I recall my wife saying to me that she thinks that lady's husband was just shot in front of her. And the reason why we thought that was because we heard the lady screaming during the shots. And the picture we had in our mind was that people were being held up in their house.
Yes.
After that, I can't recall any other noises or sounds that I heard from the area. My wife and I sat on the bed. We were obviously quite traumatized by what we had heard. And I don't think we spoke much after that. It was still quite early, shortly after 3, and we attempted to sleep further. I can recall hearing the security vehicle, or a vehicle approaching the direction of where the shots came from, and that's why we assumed that someone else would have also witnessed the event and would have notified the security of Silver Woods. So as I said, we tried to sleep. I lay in bed, obviously concerned for our own security. We were under the impression that someone had been attacked in their house in a very secure complex, and my thinking was that if it could happen to them, the same could happen to us. So I lay awake thinking about how I can improve our security in our house. I remember at around 4 o'clock I got up out of bed and I fetched the tape measure to go and measure our door openings where our sliding doors are. I went back upstairs, tried to sleep, but couldn't really, and I woke up early. I got out of bed early, around 5 a.m. And my wife and I both got up at that time, and we went to the office. I was at my office quite early that morning, around 6. I recall when I left.
We have a difficulty to hear the witness.
Yeah.
We hear parts of it and parts of it. If you can just speak up a little bit.
Yes. Could you try to speak up again? You get him
My
softer
apologies.
and softer.
As I said,
Yeah. You went to work early.
yeah, so I ended up at the office quite early that morning, around 6 o'clock. And I remember I surfed a bit on the web to try and do research on security gates, see if I can get more information on costs, etc., and sizes. I remember when I left our estate, I stopped at the security boom and I inquired with the security officer on duty whether he knows what happened at Silverwood's estate the previous evening. And I was informed that they know that something happened, but they aren't exactly certain what happened. And I then proceeded to the office. It was my intention and my plan to phone a friend of mine, Willem Vos, who, together with Mr. Peter Hall, built our house in Silver Stream. And I was under the impression that Mr. Vos and Mr. Hall are busy building a house in the Silverwoods estate, and I thought they might have a contact that they could contact and find out more information on the incident of the previous evening. So I waited for 7 o'clock the next morning, and I called Willem.
That's Mr. Vos.
Mr. Vos. So Mr. Vos was the first person that I told my version to, the same version that I'm giving you today. After I told him my story, what we had heard, he said he's going to phone around, see if he can get any information, and he'll call me back. I made the phone call from a boardroom in our office. When I ended the phone call, I went into an office adjacent to the boardroom where 4 of my colleagues were. I then related the same version to them. After I told them what happened, a couple of minutes later, Willem or Mr. Vos called me back, and he asked me to repeat my story, what I had heard, which I then did. He proceeded to say that he's hesitant to spread a rumor, but what he had heard was that the Olympic athlete, Mr. Oscar Pistorius, had shot his girlfriend. I remember I was very surprised at what he had told me, and I said to him, it's difficult for me to relate what I'd heard to what you are telling me. I was convinced it was a housebreak due to the fact that we heard both people, a man and a woman, calling for help. So after that, we ended that phone call. I went back into the office where my colleagues were, and I said to them that I don't want to spread this rumor any further, but this is what I'd heard. And as I told them what the news was, one of my colleagues saw the first report on the Beeld's website. So it was then confirmed. I then left that office where my colleagues were, and I proceeded to call my wife. And we had spoken, I think, maybe once or twice that morning. I know she had told her version to a number of her colleagues and also a friend of her to try, and she phoned a lady, Mrs. Goller. Her child goes to the daycare centre in Silver Woods, and we thought that Mrs. Goller would be able to find out more information. So that's the reason why my wife and I spoken. When I called her, I asked her just to relate her version to me again, and I said, once she had told me her version, I said to her, can you believe this is what I'd heard? And I informed her of the allegations that it was Mr. Pistorius involved in the incident. And the reason why I did that was because I was still surprised, and she was as surprised as I am, that it was in fact a domestic violence incident and not an armed robbery or housebreak incident.
Why did you think at the time that it was domestic violence incident?
I think the fact that we had distinctly heard two different persons, a male and a female lady, calling for help. And when we heard their calls for help, the impression I was under that maybe the attackers had left the house and they were tied up or locked in a room and they were trying to alert the neighbours. That's just the impression that we were under.
So you spoke to your wife? Let's carry on from there. You spoke to your wife?
After I spoke to my wife, obviously it was, I think everyone is aware of how quickly the news spread and escalated, and so we followed it in the news. That afternoon when I got home, obviously throughout the day I saw aerial shots of the Silver Woods estate, and I was surprised to see how close we are to the house where it happened. So the afternoon when I got home, I got onto our roof, the roof of our house. There's a row of trees in our neighbour's yard, so it obscures our view. So I got onto the roof so I could see over the treetops. And I took a camera with me, and I was able to see the house, Oscar Pistorius' house, from our rooftop, and I took a photograph from there. I then proceeded to go and look at the Google Earth image and used a utility that is available on the Google Earth website to measure the distance. My estimate was around 150 meters. That same afternoon, after I got off the roof, I spoke to my next door neighbour. He's also on the boundary between Silver Stream and Silver Woods, but he's my neighbour in Silver Stream. And I asked him whether he had heard anything. His name is Heinrich, I'm not sure what his surname is. So he said that they only woke up from the last shot, and he thinks the reason why I didn't hear anything was because they have a ceiling fan on in the room, which creates a hum, and that flushes out the noises. So I gave him the same version that I gave you today, how I remembered the events. And
how did it come about that you made a statement to the police?
So we initially didn't want to get involved. We also assumed that if we were so far away, 170 meters, I believe, I assumed that there would be many people that are much closer to the actual house that would have a much clearer recollection and would have heard more clearly what had happened. So we never thought that during the first week that we would have to get involved. As the bail application proceeded, we heard, or it came, more information became available, and we realized that there are no other witnesses that have come forward closer to us. I remember the Friday when the bail application or bail hearings verdict was given. We were on our way to Sabi, where I was going to participate in a mountain bike race. Just before we left, I had spoken to our neighbour in the Silver Woods estate. I believe the lady's name is Mrs. Dale Maritz. And that was the first time after the incident that we had an opportunity to speak to her. And we discussed the incident and asked if she had heard anything, and she said no, they've got an aircon unit that was on that evening, which also flushed out the noises. So we, on our way to Sabi, we listened to the court proceedings on the radio, and I recall a statement being made by the defense that there was only one person that had shouted or screamed that evening, and that was the accused. My version differed from that, and I felt morally obliged to come forward and provide my version. Obviously hoping that there would also be other witnesses that would come forward in an attempt to avoid any public blootstelling. I don't want to publieke blootstelling.
I didn't get that. You're getting softer again.
Sorry, I'm just looking for the English word. What's blootstelling in English?
The word is involvement. Involvement. You did not want to get involved.
Yeah, basically, sorry, if I can express it like this, we didn't want to get involved. We wanted to remain out of the public, obviously knowing what the interest would be worldwide in this case. So for that reason, we did not want to just go to the Boschkop police station and make a statement. We looked for a different avenue. My wife then contacted a advocate friend of hers, Mr. Advocate Nikki Maritz, and we gave our version to him, and he advised us to make notes in as much detail as what we can remember, as we will have to rely on those notes to refresh our memories, which we both did at that point. Nikki, Mr. Maritz, informed us that he knows Mr. Nell, Advocate Nell, and he will approach him. So that's how we set the ball in motion to come forward with our version and make a statement. It was, I'm not sure of the dates, but a couple of days after that, the investigating team arrived at our house one evening and inquired if we had heard anything on the night of the 14th or the morning of the 14th. And that was the first time we made an official statement.
Now, when you made your statement, who took down your statement, your written statement by the police?
There was I can't remember, there were two gentlemen that came to our house. We gave them that first version, and then the following week, Captain Mike van Aert contacted me, and we made an appointment. He came to our house, and both my wife and I made a statement, and he wrote down our affidavits. The consultation happened separately, individually. I was not present while my wife made her statement, and nor was she when I made mine.
Well, it's 4 minutes to 3. We've had a full day, and I could certainly use a couple of minutes to go through the notes before I finalise this evidence. May I then request that we adjourn for the day?
Yes. Thank you very much. Mr. Johnson, you're still under oath. Please don't discuss this case with anybody.
Yes, my lady.
We'll resume at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Court
Indeed.
will adjourn.
All right.